Chapter 151, Smacking Away. Li Xiandao was sleeping. He was someone that found it hard to fall asleep. When one reached his realm, their mind would become really clear. Along with the all-knowing talent, even when he closed his eyes, his mind would still be running. But with Seven massaging him, Li Xiandao calmly closed his eyes. He didn't think about anything and just fell asleep. Seven was Li Xiandao's medicine and pills. Hong! But just at that moment, there was a large explosion in the world Dao and it was extremely loud as it reverberated all around. Li Xiandao had broken through to Countless Sands realm long ago and the world Dao was like his back garden. He could play in it at any moment. Thus, that explosion woke him up. Damn it! After Li Xiandao woke up, his face was filled with rage. He was about to take off Seven's clothes in his dreams when he was woken up. He was filled with rage. At that moment, Li Xiandao really wanted to kill this person's entire family. In the next second, Li Xiandao shook his head helplessly. He looked at the blanket covering his body and his heart felt really warm. Who crossed the worlds? Li Xiandao stood up and looked towards the other world-grade teleportation formation in the other part of ancient desolate land. The person who caused such a huge commotion was someone that crossed worlds. Li Xiandao instantly had a bad feeling about this. This person was not friendly at all. Old priest, go take a look at who the person is. Li Xiandao went to inform the old priest who was resting in his own home. The sky was blue and the clouds were white as he felt the cool breeze on his skin. As usual, the old priest was lying down and having a comfortable nap. Suddenly, Li Xiandao's voice scared him. He opened his eyes unhappily and muttered, "Why did I have to get conned into signing that contract? I didn't get any benefits and I've become someone's helper. This is just a huge loss." "What did you say?" Li Xiandao was annoyed. The old priest said right away, "I didn't say anything. I will head over now to take a look." After ending the call, the old priest sighed. He had no choice and had to head out to take a walk. Hong! The old priest rushed towards the world-grade teleportation formation. In front of the world-grade teleportation formation connected to the heaven and earth battlefield, the purple gold warrior walked out. He held a long spear that gave off a silver glow as he just calmly stood there. He was waiting for someone. The aura of someone at Countless Sands grade 18 surged through the world Dao so as to attract the strongest batch of people in this world. He would then ask them where the person he wanted to kill was. This was the most time-efficient method. The purple gold warrior walked around ancient desolate land frowning as he felt really uncomfortable here. The spiritual energy here is so weak and the world Dao is so dark. No wonder people say that ancient desolate land and Dali land are the weakest. Even pigs in our eternal land wouldn't want to live in such a place. The purple gold armored warrior said in disdain. Ancient desolate land's spiritual energy was really weak and the Dao here was too hidden and hard to understand. However, for a person to reach Countless Sands realm here means that the person is really amazing. The warrior muttered to himself. He looked around and realized that no one had come. That made him frown. Is there no Countless Sands realm person in ancient desolate land? That shouldn't be the case. Even if the Dao here is so difficult to understand and the spiritual energy is weak, it should still be able to raise a Countless Sands realm expert. The warrior looked around in confusion. He still hadn't noticed anyone from Countless Sands realm. What he didn't know was that not far away in the clouds, the old priest was looking at him. What a strong aura, he is probably at peak Countless Sands realm. I am not his opponent, so I can't let him notice me. I should leave this to the boss. The old priest muttered. He informed Li Xiandao. Actually, Li Xiandao had been using the old priest's sight to observe the warrior. Old priest, go ask him why he came to ancient desolate land. If he is here to kill me, then I will head over right away. Li Xiandao said coldly. He was covered in armor and holding his spear. Just one look and one knew that he was not normal. He came here specifically to wait for other Countless Sands realm experts. With such a clear goal in mind, Li Xiandao was sure that he was following orders from someone. He told the old priest to ask so as to confirm. In truth, Li Xiandao had already started making his way there. If he admitted that he was here on orders to kill him, then Li Xiandao would kill him. He would let Ling Ren know that although he couldn't do anything to her now, she couldn't treat him like he was weak. You sent someone at Countless Sands grade 18 to kill me? Stop dreaming. After the old priest got Li Xiandao's order, his whole mouth was filled with a bitter taste. Wasn't it better if he hid here? Why did he have to head out and ask him why he came to ancient desolate land? That person was grade 18. The old priest really wanted to run to Li Xiandao's ear and shout in rage to vent the anger in his heart. But he only thought about that for a short moment before appearing and following Li Xiandao's orders. When the purple gold armored warrior saw the old priest, he had a weird expression in his eyes. After sizing him up, he said, "I didn't expect such an expert to appear in such a secluded place like ancient desolate land." An expert? A grade 18 warrior said that I was an expert. The old priest didn't treat himself as an expert and didn't care much about the comment. He asked, "I am just a cultivator with no potential. May I ask why you came to ancient desolate land?" "I came to kill." The purple gold warrior said without any hesitation. The old priest sucked in a deep breath. This was a problem. "Do you recognize this person?" The purple gold warrior formed an illusion of Li Xiandao's photo. The old monk looked at it and shook his head bitterly. "Can I say that I don't know him? It is not good to lie." The warrior's eyes lit up but he continued to speak in a calm manner. "Where is he?" The warrior asked solemnly. "He will be here right away. Just wait for a moment." The old priest thought about it and said. "Good, he actually dares to come. I have a much better impression of him now." The purple gold warrior said coldly. "Why do you have to kill him?" The old priest asked. "I am on orders." The warrior said coldly. "Then, what if you can't beat him?" The old priest suddenly asked. "Can't beat him?" The warrior laughed coldly and said confidently, "How can there be anyone stronger than me in this small ancient desolate land? What if you can't beat me?" Li Xiandao repeated those words. He turned into a sword light and struck forwards. "I told you that it is impossible for there to be anyone who I can't beat in ancient desolate land." The purple golden warrior was impatient. He looked at the old priest unhappily. Was he sick in the head to ask the same question twice? The old priest waved his hand and said, "Look behind you." "What?" The purple gold warrior turned around. A sharp sword energy shot at him and smacked into his body without making a sound at all. Hong! The purple gold warrior flew backward. It was as if 100 giant elephants had smashed into him. He spat out a mouthful of blood, flying dozens of meters up before falling back down. Caw caw caw! The purple gold armor on his body cracked inch by inch. Chapter 152, Using a Spear to Defeat You. The purple gold warrior was sent flying before he even noticed Li Xiandao. Hong! He smacked heavily into the ground, and the armor on his body collapsed. He spat out mouthfuls of blood as he looked towards Li Xiandao in disbelief. "I actually didn't notice you." The purple gold warrior's expression was one of shock. He didn't expect that he wouldn't be able to sense it when someone flew at him at high speeds and attacked him. That was just too terrifying. The only explanation was that Li Xiandao was too strong. The old priest was tongue-tied. "Boss is much stronger than before." Li Xiandao was wearing a black robe and had the golden mask on his face. He walked forward slowly and asked, "You said that no one in ancient desolate land is your opponent. What about now?" The warrior wiped off the blood at the corner of his mouth and stared at Li Xiandao in rage. He gritted his teeth, "You sneak attacked me. I am not afraid of you now." Pang! His spear shone a silver light and he pointed it at Li Xiandao. The warrior suppressed his injuries and went all out to try to kill Li Xiandao. Li Xiandao focused and said, "Where did your spear technique and aura come from?" Li Xiandao felt like this scene was really familiar. It was the same as war god Zhao Wudi. But this person's aura was much weaker than Zhao Wudi's and was a little different, which was why Li Xiandao asked. "You are actually quite knowledgeable. My spear technique came from war god Zhao Wudi's line." The warrior said proudly. "As expected, it is Zhao Wudi." He did say that the aura was similar but still a little different. So, the reason was that he had trained wrongly. "You learned from Zhao Wudi, but you don't even know a tenth of his aura. Your movement isn't straight and direct at all." Li Xiandao said calmly. "What a joke, I came from the sect that Zhao Wudi himself created and my spear has always been invincible. You actually say that I don't have a tenth of his aura." The purple gold warrior laughed coldly. He mocked Li Xiandao for being ignorant and felt like he was just faking intelligence. "Since you say that your spear technique is invincible, then attack me." Li Xiandao was too lazy to argue. He stretched out one arm and was prepared to fight with one hand. "What are you doing?" The purple gold warrior didn't understand. You received one sword from me. Your armor took most of the damage and has been destroyed. You have been injured too. Li Xiandao said calmly, so, I will use only one hand to make the fight fair. The warrior looked at Li Xiandao in shock and said in amazement, I didn't think you would show such sportsmanship. Li Xiandao shook his head, I don't. I just don't really care much about you. The purple gold warrior's face turned black and he felt really frustrated. You said that your spear is invincible, but to me, I can beat you with just one hand. Li Xiandao didn't care much about him. If he was not Zhao Wudi's junior, Li Xiandao wouldn't have bothered to speak so much with him. Although he was Zhao Wudi's junior, Li Xiandao still had to kill him. However, he would give him a chance to experience Zhao Wudi's terrifying Dao. After Li Xiandao clashed with Zhao Wudi, he totally understood his way of fighting. Li Xiandao was going to use Zhao Wudi's invincible spear technique to kill this person who said that his spear technique was invincible. The purple gold warrior stared at Li Xiandao in rage. He was totally infuriated. Before this, he thought that Li Xiandao was a gentleman, but now he knew that it was because Li Xiandao was just looking down on him. Was there anything more infuriating than this? Yes. Li Xiandao placed one hand on his back and said, I use the sword and don't know much about spears. I have never trained in it before. I heard that you said your spear is invincible, so I am not happy about that. I won't use a sword to fight you, I will use a spear. The purple gold warrior was furious. He stared at Li Xiandao in rage and felt humiliated. A sword user was not using his sword and dared to fight him with a spear? He had never trained in the spear at all? I am a Countless Sands Realm Grade 18 expert. Not Heaven Essence Realm. The purple gold armored warrior hollered in rage, Die! You arrogant fellow! He used all his energy to shout those words before he pierced forwards. The spear was like a dragon that popped out from the hole 7 times, attacking from all directions. At that instant, that one strike became 7 strikes. It was really ferocious and brought with it the rage of the purple gold warrior. It covered Li Xiandao. Li Xiandao looked at it calmly. He recalled the numerous spear techniques that Zhao Wudi used when he faced him. All of them were simplified forms of the Dao, each move was used so as to kill. There weren't any special theatrics and it was much more practical than this. Li Xiandao shook his head and said regretfully, Your spear is too flashy, you are just a disgrace to Zhao Wudi's name. Stop talking nonsense and just die. The purple gold warrior hollered furiously. I will let you see how terrifying war god Zhao Wudi's spear technique is. Li Xiandao's expression turned cold. He formed a spear from nothing and held it with one hand. He started to gather war god Zhao Wudi's terrifying aura. It bubbled and surged around him. Li Xiandao followed the guidance of the arrow to stab forwards. It was just a simple stab forwards. Kong! This stab was like a ferocious dragon exiting the mountain, covering the warrior right away. The warrior found it extremely hard to breathe. His spear technique, his 7 dragon strikes, and his ferocious attacks just seemed so weak. This is the ancestor's aura, the warrior was shocked. He didn't expect that Li Xiandao would actually know how to form the aura of Zhao Wudi, who had died many years ago. Go and die. Li Xiandao said coldly. His spear continued forwards without giving him any chance to react at all. The dragon swallowed everything up. No matter how the warrior struggled and used his grade 18 Countless Sands realm strength, there was nothing he could do. The spear pierced into his heart. The power that exploded from it destroyed his will to hold on. His soul exploded and he would never be able to repair it. When everything calmed back down, Li Xiandao just stood there with his arms behind his back. He looked just like a master that had transcended all these worldly things. If it was a short while ago, he would have spent some effort to kill someone from that realm. But now, he didn't need to try at all. This is Ancestor. Ancestor's spear technique. The warrior muttered. Li Xiandao nodded his head, yes, this is war god Zhao Wudi's spear technique. Only such a spear technique can be called invincible. Those were his final words as he just stood there and didn't move at all. The old priest swallowed his saliva and said, Boss, can ancient desolate land accept strength above Countless Sands realm? Li Xiandao looked at him and said, I broke through after I entered, otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to enter. The old priest said in envy, Boss, you are really amazing to be able to break through into Countless Sands realm in ancient desolate land. This is why you can't run away from me. Work hard, otherwise. Li Xiandao glanced at him and said. The old priest's face froze. Chapter 153, New Guest. After killing the enemy, Li Xiandao turned around and returned back to the Bank of the Universe. The old priest followed. Li Xiandao thought about it and gathered all the men he had under him. The second meeting of the Bank of the Universe began. President, Li Xiandao. Secretary, 7. Members, Battle Angel Michael, Archangel Gabriel, Fallen Angel Lucifer, Moon Angel Yuzuna, God of Light Tian Guangming, Heaven Heart, Wu Xianer, Old Priest, La Mo, Long Mixu, and Chu Bai. Li Xiandao told them about Ling Ren as well as the purple gold armored warrior and asked, which one of you is willing to head to Eternal Land with me? Li Xiandao was prepared to head there. Not taking into account how Ling Ren attacked him across space, she even sent someone to ancient desolate land to kill him. This was a debt that Li Xiandao remembered in his heart. Moreover, after heading to Eternal Land, Li Xiandao's cultivation would be able to rise quickly. Including this bunch of extremely talented people under him, all of them needed to enter Eternal Land to fully utilize their talents. Dali Land and Ancient Desolate Land were too far away and were unable to receive much of the spiritual energy that came from the Nine Skies. The old priest was the first to stand up. He raised his hand and said, I definitely want to head there. Li Xiandao nodded his head. He had to bring him there as it was written in the contract. We will go too. Lucifer, Yuzuna, Michael, Gabriel, Heaven Heart, Tian Guangming, Chu Bai and Wu Xianer all chose to follow Li Xiandao. La Mo and Long Mixu shook their heads. They weren't going. Li Xiandao could understand. La Mo had to take care of the high mountain race, so he couldn't go. Long Mixu had just become the Empress, so it was impossible for her to head to Eternal Land now. Okay, then La Mo and Long Mixu will stay here and manage the 10,000 Dragon Empire. If there are any problems, contact me and I will send people to help you. Li Xiandao nodded his head and said. The world-breaking blade? La Mo asked curiously. World-breaking blade belonged to Li Xiandao and it was a celestial artifact. Now that Li Xiandao was leaving, he would definitely take it away, right? Li Xiandao shook his head. A celestial artifact is really precious, but I have a few in my hands. I will leave it for all of you to protect yourselves. Also, help me manage the world-grade teleportation formation. When I need to open it again I will still require your world-breaking blade. Li Xiandao instructed. La Mo said solemnly, I will definitely complete the mission. Li Xiandao nodded his head. He stopped looking at them and turned to 7 instead. Now that we are all well prepared, what do we need before we can leave? Li Xiandao asked. He was afraid that he had missed out on something. 7 said calmly, of course, you can leave Ancient Desolate Land, but to head to Eternal Land do you have coordinates? Li Xiandao frowned. Only then did he remember that the world-grade teleportation formation required coordinates to pinpoint a location. He didn't have any coordinates in Eternal Land, so they couldn't head over. Li Xiandao frowned, then, we do have to think of a solution. Just like how Li Xiandao entered Ancient Desolate Land, he needed someone for the coordinates. 7 smiled, I have helped you solve it. Li Xiandao looked at 7 in shock and asked, how? I told the Red Watch to find a native of Eternal Land to trade. Then, she will help us to mark our next coordinate. 7 said slowly. Not bad, 7 has done well this time. Li Xiandao praised 7 and even sneakily gave her the thumbs up. 7 saw it but didn't show any emotion at all. The only thing was a slight raise of the corner of her lips which represented her mood. When is this guest coming? Heaven Heart asked. The guest is on the way. 7 said. Li Xiandao stood up and said, meeting adjourned. The Bank of the Universe's second meeting ended just like that. Within the trading hall, there was only 7 and Li Xiandao. 7, thank you for your quick thinking about how to arrange for this guest in advance. Li Xiandao was grateful to 7. 7 desired Li Xiandao's gratitude but she didn't show it on her face, that is what I have to do. Li Xiandao didn't care about that and wanted to continue praising her. Praising a woman was better than not praising them, right? Li Xiandao had never dated but he knew that when one praised another person, even if one didn't feel happy about it, they wouldn't be angry or triggered by it. 7 pointed forwards. The guest is here, if you have anything else to say, it can wait. It wasn't that she didn't want to hear Li Xiandao praise her, but she was worried that she would be too happy and she wouldn't be able to maintain her cold personality. She was a cold 7 and not a 7 that would be extremely happy after Li Xiandao praised her a few times. 7 reminded herself of that. The guest was here. What Li Xiandao didn't expect was for it to be a little girl. She looked like she was 10, she was around 1.3 meters tall and her look was slowly turning from cute to beautiful. She wore a long dress and bounced up and down when she walked. Just one look and one could tell that she was from an important family. Li Xiandao sat there and waited for her to walk over. Who knew that the moment she entered, she bowed towards Li Xiandao and said, "Granddad deity, is it true that I can trade everything here?" Li Xiandao's face froze up. Not only did his face freeze, but even his body froze. What had he heard? Granddad? Was he that old? Li Xiandao didn't reply and looked towards 7 with a questioning gaze. Where did you get this dumb kid? 7 shrugged her shoulders helplessly to say that she had no idea and that the watch found her itself. Granddad deity, why are you not answering me? The little girl asked carefully since Li Xiandao didn't reply to her. Li Xiandao had nothing to say and could only say helplessly, there is no need to bow. We can in fact exchange everything but you need to provide us with enough treasures. She got up slowly and looked fearfully at Li Xiandao's mask. To children, this mask was really scary. But the little girl was strong enough and managed to stand up by herself. She sat on the chair with her back really straight and looked at Li Xiandao. You are so small, so how did you enter the heaven and earth battlefield? Li Xiandao asked. This girl was only 10 and should have just been building her cultivation foundations. Why was she in the heaven and earth battlefield? I entered the heaven and earth battlefield with my grandfather. Granddad deity, please save my grandfather. She said anxiously. When she talked about her grandfather, she panicked like a kid. Tears even welled up in her eyes. Li Xiandao asked, what happened to your grandfather? He is going to die. He was bitten by a poisonous snake in the heaven and earth battlefield. I can't save him, so I shattered the watch. Although she was anxious, she was very articulate. Your wish is for me to save him? Li Xiandao asked. Yes, save my grandfather. The girl nodded her head firmly. Okay, I can save your grandfather but Granddad deity needs you to do something for me. Do you agree? Li Xiandao gave up and called himself Granddad deity. Chapter 154, His Mother is a Snake? When she heard that Li Xiandao agreed to save her grandfather, the little girl teared up. The pressure and fear in her heart dissipated and she rolled on the ground to kowtow to Li Xiandao. Granddad deity, if you save my grandfather I promise that I will listen to you and do anything. I am very well behaved. The little girl said emotionally. Li Xiandao looked towards 7 helplessly. 7 walked over and helped her up. Don't worry, our Granddad deity is very skilled. Since he said that he will save your grandfather, then he will definitely be able to do so. Is that so, Granddad deity? 7 shouted towards Li Xiandao. Hidden under the mask, Li Xiandao had an expression of helplessness on his face. However, when he looked at the little girl's anticipation, he could only nod his head. Come and sign the contract. Although you are young, luckily there are no laws in this world preventing kids from signing things. Li Xiandao dissed. He really didn't expect for the guest that 7 found for him to be a little girl. 7 took a contract and told the little girl to read it carefully. The little girl was really anxious and she just signed it without looking at all. Li Xiandao looked at it and nodded his head in satisfaction. Luckily, she met a good boss like me. If she had met a mad person, her future would be ruined. Granddad deity, please go and save my grandfather. The girl shouted. Li Xiandao nodded his head. Calm down, I will let an expert follow you to save your grandfather. Li Xiandao couldn't enter the heaven and earth battlefield. There were many restrictions and he was unable to cross worlds to travel around. Which was why Li Xiandao called the old priest. The strongest and most abled person under him was this priest. Boss, did you call me? The old monk walked in with a confused expression. In his heart, he was actually complaining that there was a new mission to do. Li Xiandao said calmly, the little girl's grandfather has been bitten by a snake in the heaven and earth battlefield. Go and save her grandfather now. Boss, can you send someone else? The old priest raised his hand to suggest a swap in personnel. Li Xiandao looked at him and didn't say a word. I just followed you to face that invader and I am really tired. I am so old and can't be compared to those young people. The old priest found an excuse. Li Xiandao kept silent for a moment and said, when you faced the invader with me, wasn't I the only one fighting? Also, this girl is the key to entering Eternal Land. Without her, we won't be able to enter. Do you want to head to Eternal Land? Li Xiandao said calmly. Boss, you don't have to say anything else. I feel like resting too much is bad for my health, so I should exercise more. I like this brat too much, so allow me to accompany her to save her grandfather. I will take good care of her. The old priest raised his hand and looked firmly at Li Xiandao firmly. Li Xiandao smiled, I want you to promise that you can't let anything happen to her, that you will save her grandfather and protect them. You will complete the mission perfectly and you can't be a coward and hide at the side. The old priest hesitated. He suddenly thought about how the grandfather was bitten by a snake. It was just a snake, so what was the big problem? The old priest straightened his back and puffed his chest, Don't worry boss, not only will I protect them well, but I will kill the snake that harmed her grandfather. I will do what I promise. Li Xiandao gave a mysterious smile and said to the old priest, Make an oath, stop slapping your chest and talking big. Oath. The old priest was stunned and felt like something wasn't right. Wasn't he just bringing a little kid to save an old man? Why did he have to make an oath? Was it because he had to kill a snake? A snake that bit an old man? Did he really have to make an oath? Li Xiandao smiled, I am worried that you will abandon them, so make an oath. The old priest looked at Li Xiandao suspiciously but he still raised his hands and made an oath towards his Dao heart. I swear with my Dao heart that I will protect the little girl and her grandfather. If I go against it, I will never improve any further in my life. The old priest looked at Li Xiandao after he finished. You also need to kill the snake. Li Xiandao calmly added. The old priest had no choice but to say, I will definitely kill the snake that bit this little girl's grandfather. Li Xiandao nodded his head in satisfaction, You can leave now. Go and come back quickly. Be safe. The little girl pulled the old priest and ran out. The old priest asked while walking, Little girl, what is the snake like? It is just a snake but it has bright colors and is really colorful. The little girl replied. The old priest calmed down and said, Don't worry, it is just a poisonous snake. I am extremely skilled and I am a good healer too. I will definitely be able to heal your grandfather. The little girl nodded and pulled the old priest out of the Bank of the Universe. Within the trading hall, Li Xiandao watched as they left. He took off his mask to show a slight smile, a mysterious smile. Seven was confused and asked, Granddad deity, what is with the cunning smile? Li Xiandao rolled his eyes at her. I am laughing because the old priest has finally conned himself. What do you mean? Seven didn't understand. The snake that bit her grandfather isn't just an ordinary snake. If the old priest doesn't use all his skills, he won't be able to kill it. Li Xiandao smiled and said. The moment he thought about how the old priest made an oath to go all out, Li Xiandao felt great. Seven rolled her eyes at Li Xiandao. Our granddad deity really is an evil person. Li Xiandao looked at her and waved his sleeves. A scene appeared. It was of the heaven and earth battlefield where the little girl and old monk had just arrived. Are you going to look? Li Xiandao asked Seven. It will be really interesting. Li Xiandao added. Seven walked to Li Xiandao's side, the two of them stood shoulder to shoulder and looked at the old priest and little girl in the projection. Within the heaven and earth battlefield, the old priest arrived after paying 20 years of lifespan. On a huge mountain, the old priest carried the little girl and flew quickly. Where is your grandfather? The old priest asked. The little girl looked around carefully and then said firmly, He is in the lake up ahead. The old priest saw a giant lake deep within the mountains. The lake water was pure and coral blue. Around it were many mountain streams that flowed into the lake. The old priest was really quick and rushed over instantly. He asked, Where is he? The little girl reached out and pointed, On that small island. At the center of it was a small island that was only a few hundred square meters. On it laid an old man who was bleeding profusely and on his final breaths. Let us go save your grandfather. The old monk carried the little girl and flew forward. Explosion. Right as they were flying across, the surface of the lake started to shake. Like an earthquake, huge waves started to form. The old priest was shocked and felt that something was wrong. He flew to the island to help carry the old man up. Kong! There was a giant roar which shocked his eardrums. Then, a giant body emerged from beneath the surface of the water. Huge! very huge. It looked like a small mountain with a very thick aura. The old priest was forced back to the island and he was infuriated. This is a snake. Chapter 155, I am so amazing. A giant snake popped out from the lake. It was comparable to a mountain. A single scale was even bigger than the old priest. When the snake straightened its body, it looked like a really tall mountain peak. This giant snake's body was multicolored. The little girl was right, it was indeed a five-colored snake. The old priest gulped as he looked at both the little girl and the unconscious old man. He couldn't control himself and was thinking about fleeing. His instinct was to avoid danger. I should have made a divination before heading out. The old priest was filled with regret and hatred. He looked at the pitiful little girl who was in tears and suddenly recalled his oath. The old priest stopped thinking about fleeing and looked at the snake with determination. He couldn't flee. But he was worried. What if he couldn't beat it? Since the old priest broke into Countless Sands realm, even when he broke into Dao Saint realm, he had never fought. A few thousand years had passed without the old priest even fighting anyone. He had always chose the safest route in life. Hide. 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 Avoid. 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 But now he couldn't hide or avoid any longer. The old priest took in a deep breath and said, "Snake, I don't mean to fight you but I just want to take this old man and kid away." Kong. In response, he was met with a furious roar and the smelly breath of the snake. Explosion. The snake smacked the lake water and caused huge waves to rise up. They were dozens of meters high and were about to totally drown the entire island. When the old priest saw this, he frowned and rage rose up in his heart. There was a little girl and a dying old man on the island. Since the snake had such a strong aura and cultivation, its intellect was definitely not low. But it still insisted on doing that. This was something that the old priest couldn't accept. "Don't force me into doing it," the old priest said seriously. Facing the dozen-meter-tall giant wave, the old priest stared at the giant serpent. His aura exploded around his body and the aura of a Countless Sands realm expert swept the area. Kong kong kong. The snake hissed in rage. It had sensed danger, so it was even more violent and maniacal now. It went all out to sweep the lake water around it to try to smack the three of them to death. Explosion. The lake water covered them. It was as if the sky and the ground were falling apart. It was really terrifying. "Old grandfather, save us!" The little girl hugged her grandfather and cried. The old priest said calmly, "Little girl, don't cry. With me here, nothing will happen to you. It dares to attack me so arrogantly with a wall of lake water." The old priest finally became firm and determined. He didn't want to hide anymore, or rather, he was unable to do so anymore. Facing the surging lake water, the old priest's aura was on full display. He stepped forward and his body appeared in mid-air. "Stop!" The old priest coldly spat out one word. The world Dao that a Countless Sands realm expert comprehended caused the giant lake across 100 miles to settle down. Even the giant snake stopped after the old priest said that. But after just a short while, the snake broke free. Its body coiled up, but even then it was still extremely huge. It was as if it could cover the entire sky. But the old priest didn't fear anything. It aggressively punched forward. Constant Youth Fist. The most basic fist technique in the Constant Youth Celestial Technique. At the initial stage, it could only help to train one's body and didn't have much other use of fighting strength. But in the hands of the old priest, this fist technique could shock the world. Pang! The old priest's Constant Youth Fist smacked into the body of the snake and it gave out a metal-like sound. Clang! Dozens of the big snake's scales were shattered and scattered everywhere by this punch. Kong! The snake cried out manically and it twisted its body in rage. It opened its bloody mouth and spat out a five-colored toxic gas. "Grandfather priest, be careful! My grandfather fell for this move!" The girl shouted. She was really anxious but she didn't cry at all. She knew that the old priest was trying his best to save her grandfather and her. She had to be well behaved and not let the grandfather priest worry about her. The old priest scoffed coldly, "Do you know what I am strongest at?" The toxic gas covered the area and continued to spread. The snake wanted to poison the old priest to death, just like what it did to the girl's grandfather. But the old priest didn't fear anything and just moved about freely in the poison. He hollered, "My strength is my body, no poison can enter and I can't die. If you didn't try to offend me, I could have allowed you to live. But now, you are going to die. The old priest who had always behaved in a cowardly manner turned into the true martial emperor of the Taoist faction. He formed a demon-suppressing sword from thin air and slashed down. A 100-meter-long sword energy slashed across the sky. It was terrifying and contained the Dao within. Kaka. The scales on the snake's stomach shattered, revealing the blood-red meat underneath. The meat was sliced open by that slash. The snake was instantly split into two. Its head and its tail split in the middle. It hollered in rage and fell into the lake. The spurting fresh blood instantly dyed the lake water red. A stench spread about which caused the old priest to frown. He landed on the island and looked around in shock. This. I did this. The old priest was terrified by his masterpiece. Explosion. The giant wave that froze for over 10 seconds suddenly broke down. The lake water became red and smelly. A giant snake corpse was floating on the surface. The entire body was now in two pieces. I am actually so amazing. The old priest scared himself. He looked around in disbelief. He hadn't fought for a few thousand years and he had actually become so strong. He was furious just now and the old priest just wanted to vent his anger. Now that he calmed down, he found it really unbelievable. That isn't right, I am so strong, so why have I been hiding? The old priest didn't know what he had been doing. He was amazed by everything that he had just done. Grandfather priest, please save my grandfather. The little girl saw that the old priest was just standing there in awe. She shouted right away. I will come over right away. The old priest stopped judging himself and headed over to treat the girl's grandfather. Within the bank of the universe, Xiandao and Seven saw the old priest fight. This old priest is so strong. Seven was impressed. Right, I told you that he is strong, really strong. The only problem is with his personality. Xiandao nodded his head. What exactly is his cultivation? Seven asked curiously. As the old priest had been hiding his true skills, very few people knew his true cultivation. Everyone only knew that he was at Countless Sands realm. But there were 18 stages, so which stage was he at? Countless Sands realm 18 stages, he is at stage 17. Xiandao smiled. He is so amazing. Seven said in shock. Xiandao nodded. This was the reason he had such high hopes of this old priest. To be able to reach stage 17 in a place with such little spiritual energy like ancient desolate land, that was near impossible. But the old priest had managed to do so. The great ocean saint turtle that was stronger than the old priest was at stage 18. But the great ocean saint turtle was a saint beast and had also obtained the Suanwu Neodan. As for the old priest, he had nothing at all. Chapter 156, Talking. On the island, the old priest used his extraordinary medical skills to save the girl's grandfather. Thank you priest for saving me. The old man was really weak. He forced open his eyes and said gratefully. It is okay. Your granddaughter is the one you have to thank. I only saved you because of her. The old priest waved his hands. Thank you, grandfather priest. The little girl saw her grandfather wake up and was delighted. She had a sweet smile on her face. The old priest smiled too. There is no need to thank me. Since your grandfather is awake, then we shall leave this place. Priest, may I bother you to help me collect the snake's Neodan? I came for the Neodan. Xiao's mother has been poisoned and is unconscious and we need this 5-colored serpent's Neodan to save her. Xiao's grandfather begged. Xiao also knelt down in front of the old priest. Grandfather priest, please save my mother, we really need the Neodan. The old priest agreed right away and hugged her. You don't need to kneel for me. You are so cute, so I will obviously agree. Take care of your grandfather. I will go get the Neodan. The Neodan was in the body of the snake. Now that the corpse was split into two, naturally, it was really simple to take it out. The old priest returned really quickly with a white and tender Neodan. It was like a cooked egg. The only difference was that it was several times larger. Keep this Neodan sage. I will bring all of you out now. The old priest grabbed Xiao and her grandfather and flew out of the mountain range. In the heaven and earth battlefield, there was a broken mountain god temple. What it paid respect to was the ancestor of the Taoist faction. The old priest brought Xiao and her grandfather over to rest up. The old priest also hunted a few mountain chickens and was prepared to barbecue them for Xiao. While barbecuing the chicken, the old priest went to heat up water so that Xiao could bathe and change out of her dirty clothes. Xiao was now totally fresh. A young and exquisite beauty appeared. The more the old priest looked at her, the more he adored her. Maybe he was old, so he naturally liked all kids. Xiao was also really well behaved and did everything that the old priest made her do. He told her to bathe, so she went. He told her to take care of her grandfather and she quietly took care of her grandfather. The old priest really liked Xiao. Pang! A firecracker exploded in the bonfire and caused flames to burst out. The bonfire lit up the area. The priest's old face, Xiao's exquisite little face, and her grandfather's weak face were all lit up. The three of them surrounded the bonfire and talked to one another. The sky outside started to turn dark. The moon was covered by the dark clouds and the empty space outside was pitch black. Within the mountain god temple, the old priest asked Xiao warmly, "What is your name?" "Tianyi, my nickname is Xiao." Xiao smiled sweetly and said, "This is my grandfather, Tian Yun." Xiao introduced. "Why would you enter the heaven and earth battlefield along with your grandfather? It is just too dangerous." The old priest shook his head. Xiao was just building her foundations and was at the foundation realm. Why would she enter the heaven and earth battlefield? Xiao said helplessly, "If I don't enter, I will face danger. Also, I didn't even want to. I wanted to be by my mother's side." The old priest looked towards Xiao's grandfather Tian Yun. Xiao caught his eye right away and he felt like she was like a family member of his. After spending time together, he really adored this little brat. Maybe because he hadn't had a wife and kids, the old priest never enjoyed the joy of family. Now that he saw Xiao, he suddenly felt the urge to dote on her like a granddaughter. Xiao's grandfather sighed. "I had no choice. Xiao's father is missing and her mother was poisoned and doesn't have much time left. Also, someone is targeting Xiao. I wanted to save her mother, so I had to enter heaven and earth battlefield and get the 5-colored snake's Nidan. But if I am not there, Xiao will be exposed. I had no choice but to seal her mother and bring Xiao into the heaven and earth battlefield. Once I get the Nidan, then I will go back to save her mother. Unfortunately, the 5-colored giant snake was so strong. I was not careful and got poisoned. Xiao tried her best to save me. As a grandfather, I am really useless." Xiao's grandfather blamed himself. He was also at Countless Sands realm, but he wasn't as strong as the old priest. However, he was at stage 10. Logically speaking, if he was slightly more careful, even if he couldn't beat the snake he would be able to escape. But after being poisoned, his body lacked strength and he was unable to flee at all. He could only lay there and wait for death. After Tianyun was poisoned, the 5-colored giant snake didn't kill Tianyun right away. It planned to let the poison spread into his organs before swallowing him. Only then would he taste delicious. Unfortunately, Xiao managed to get reinforcements. "Who wants to attack your family?" The old priest frowned and asked. He saw how cute Xiao was, especially when she combed her ponytails. She was so cute that people couldn't bear to scold her. Who would actually dare to attack such a cute girl? The old priest was furious. Xiao was crestfallen. She stared at the bonfire and was filled with melancholy. The 10-year-old Xiao was mature like an adult. Maybe she had been through too much, which resulted in her having to become mature. Tianyun sighed. "The people who attacked us were from Xiao's mother's family." Shocked, the old priest said, "A family feud." Tianyun laughed bitterly and said, "Not only that. There exists the love between a rich family and a poor boy, but her family objected. They hunted them down, and now, even Xiao's father is gone and her mother has been poisoned." The old priest sighed. "This is even more far-fetched than I imagined. But the kid is innocent." The old priest looked at the sad and lonely Xiao and raged. Xiao's grandfather wanted to snatch her away. "I don't know what they want to do, but she is my granddaughter. Now that her father is lost and her mother has been poisoned, as her grandfather, I need to protect her." Tianyun said firmly. "Not bad, you are responsible. Don't worry Xiao, once I enter Eternal Land, you can contact me if you face problems. I will definitely help you solve it." The old priest patted his chest. "Is that so?" Xiao and Tianyun looked at the old priest in surprise. "Of course, I am really strong, even if I can't solve it, don't you still have your granddad deity?" The old priest said to Xiao. Xiao said emotionally, "Right, there is still granddad deity. Grandfather priest is so strong and you have to listen to Granddad deity, so he must be really strong. Who is Granddad deity? Tianyun was lost. Don't ask Xiao about Granddad deity and I. You only need to know that Xiao is lucky and that we won't hurt Xiao. If you annoy Granddad deity and she misses this chance, then you will have hurt her for the rest of her life. The old priest told him solemnly. Tianyun stopped right away and stopped interrupting. Chapter 157, Call Me Daddy. The old priest and Xiao continued talking. Now, your grandfather needs to recover slowly. When are the both of you planning to return to Eternal Land? Xiao looked towards her grandfather. Of course, the faster the better. If we can return soon, Xiao's mother will be saved. Tianyun said right away. Xiao nodded her head too. Great. Tomorrow, you will follow me and I will protect you while you head towards the teleportation formation. The old priest's eyes lit up and he spoke right away. As long as Xiao returned to Eternal Land and laid down the world coordinates, they would be able to cross worlds. Since the old priest was able to reach stage 17 of Countless Sands realm in a place like ancient desolate land, then if he headed to Eternal Land, wouldn't he soar? I have something to say to Xiao alone. You can just keep yourself warm here alone. The old priest pulled Xiao and walked out. Tianyun looked on in worry, but he didn't say anything. Xiao gave a sweet smile. There is no need to worry. Both grandfather priest and granddad deity are nice people and won't harm me. Tianyun nodded his head. He looked on as both the old priest and Xiao walked out of the mountain god temple before disappearing. The bank of the universe. The old priest brought Xiao back. Li Xiandao looked at them with the mask on their faces. Hello, granddad deity. Xiao saw Li Xiandao and shouted respectfully. Li Xiandao's gaze was one of helplessness. He waved his hands. Hello, is your grandfather fine? Xiao said happily, grandfather just needs to rest for a while and there should be nothing wrong with him. Li Xiandao nodded his head in satisfaction and looked towards the old priest. Did it feel fun to go all out? The old priest said awkwardly, it was all right. Although cultivation isn't a constant fight, if you give in to others in every situation, as time goes on, something will go wrong with your heart. Li Xiandao said calmly. There was something wrong with the old priest before. He always felt like he wasn't strong. Although he was at stage 17, he cultivated the constant youth celestial technique and had no early stage combat strength at all. The old priest felt that he still had no combat strength even when he reached Countless Sands realm. Only when he easily killed the fiver-colored giant snake did he realize that he was so amazing. To a certain extent, his heart was actually changing. Although he was still timid, he wasn't a total coward like before. Thank you, master. Thankful, the old priest bowed. He knew that Li Xiandao was trying very hard to help him change this personality flaw. Li Xiandao accepted his thanks but didn't worry about him. He looked at Xiao and said warmly, Granddad deity has saved your grandfather, so will you help me do something? Li Xiandao didn't use the contract to demand Xiao to do anything, but he was using their relationship to convince her. That was because he felt that Xiao was really cute too. A twin ponytailed, cute loli helped to ignite Li Xiandao's feminine side. In a serious tone, Xiao said to Li Xiandao, Granddad deity, please instruct me. I will try my best to help you complete it. Li Xiandao smiled and touched Xiao's ponytail. She was such a cute little girl. Granddad deity, why is your hand so beautiful and young? Xiao said in shock. Li Xiandao explained, that is because I am a deity, so my hand is really nice and young. Oh, I thought that it was because Granddad deity was young and I was wrong to call you Granddad. Phew, I wasn't wrong. Xiao patted her small chest. Li Xiandao's face froze as he couldn't take back what he just said. He wanted Xiao to call her brother deity, not Granddad deity. But when he saw how Xiao was behaving, Li Xiandao couldn't be bothered to make her change. Since she was calling him Granddad, then so be it. Xiao, keep this thing. Li Xiandao took out a stone from the space in front of him. It was a mix of white and black with numerous carvings drawn on it. One could clearly see that it was a star map. What is this? Xiao held it with her arms. She asked curiously. These are coordinates. You can close your eyes and retract them into your body. Then, when you close your eyes and use your heart to summon them, you can take them out once more. Li Xiandao smiled. Xiao tried several times, and as expected, it worked. She looked at Li Xiandao emotionally, "Granddad deity, why are you giving me this?" Li Xiandao squatted down. His gold mask was right in front of Xiao's face. In the past, Xiao might have really feared Li Xiandao's gold mask, but she didn't fear him at all now. Granddad deity was a good person who treated him really well. Moreover, this mask was so cool. It looked really majestic when someone so strong like Granddad deity wore such a mask. Xiao stared at Li Xiandao's mask and sized him up. He was really curious about what Li Xiandao's face would look like. An old man? A handsome, old man? A bald, old man? A disfigured, old man? Many thoughts appeared in Xiao's little head. If Li Xiandao knew, he would have told him that behind the mask was an extremely handsome face. It was a face that made girls' legs weak when they saw it. A face that gave people with cravings. A face that could rank among the top in the 9 skies and 10 lands, even the celestial world. A face that would make numerous girls single for the rest of their lives. Unfortunately, Li Xiandao didn't know what Xiao was thinking about. He said solemnly to her, "Remember, when you return to Eternal Land and confirm there is no one around, no beasts and the entire place is empty, take this out. Place it on the ground and inject some of your energy into it to activate it." Shocked, Xiao listened intently and asked, "So simple?" Li Xiandao nodded his head and said, "It is just that simple." "Are you confident that you can do it?" Li Xiandao asked. "Yes." Xiao nodded her head. Li Xiandao reached out and touched Xiao's hair, "If you complete this, in the future, Granddad deity will take care of you in Eternal Land and no one will be able to bully you." Xiao smiled sweetly. "Thank you, Granddad deity. Okay, keep the coordinates and head out with your grandfather priest. He will send the 2 of you to the teleportation formation." Li Xiandao stood up and said, "Goodbye, Granddad deity." Xiao waved her hands. Li Xiandao nodded and said, "Goodbye, the next time we meet will be in Eternal Land." Xiao nodded and held grandfather priest's hand to leave the Bank of the Universe together. After they left, Li Xiandao just looked on quietly. "I didn't think that our Granddad deity would be so loving." 7 walked over slowly and said, "You shouldn't call me that." Li Xiandao reminded. "Then, what should you call me?" 7 asked curiously. Li Xiandao thought about it and said seriously, looking at her, "I suddenly want a daughter. You can call me Daddy." 7's face turned black as she stared at Li Xiandao and gritted her snow-white teeth. Chapter 158, Little Ya Seriousness. Xiao and the old priest returned from the heaven and earth battlefield and to the mountain god temple. The 2 of them were perfectly fine while Xiao had a wide smile. Only then did Tianyun relax. "Rest up and we will set off tomorrow. I will send all you safely to the teleportation formation," the old priest said. The bonfire was not strong enough, so the old priest added more to it before sitting cross-legged on the ground. He started to chant and only he could hear what he was saying. Tianyun closed his eyes and started to heal his injuries. As for Xiao, she laid on a clean mattress to the side and fell asleep. The night was one of silence. On the early morning of the next day, Tianyun was able to walk by himself. So, the old priest carried Xiao and all of them went on their way. As this was the heaven and earth battlefield, they avoided the crowded areas and dangerous regions. The old priest didn't find it tiring to fly with the 2 of them and they were traveling at a very high speed. The unfortunate thing was that the old priest was unable to use the teleportation formation. Otherwise, he would have been able to use this to enter Eternal Land and wouldn't have needed to sign a contract with Li Xiandao. The old priest was really careful along the way, using all his skills to divine danger and make safe decisions. When he faced danger he would hide right away and only charge forward when the danger was gone. Just like that, under Tianyun and Tianya's shocked gazes, they traveled for 15 days. The few of them didn't even fight at all, nor did they face any danger whatsoever. Only when they saw the world-grade teleportation formation did the old priest heave a sigh of relief. He said proudly, "This is my specialty. If I don't want to fight, no one can make me fight." Xiao clapped, "Grandfather priest is so amazing." Tianyun said seriously, "Priest, Tianyun and I will remember your help deep in our hearts. There is no need to thank me. All of this is because of Tianyun. When all of you head over to Eternal Land, we will meet you there." The old priest smiled. "Goodbye, Grandfather priest." Tianyun waved his hands. "Goodbye, remember what Granddad Deity instructed you. The old priest said. I remember and I will definitely do it. Tianya nodded her head. Her small brain was really developed and she would definitely do what she promised someone else. The old priest smiled as he saw them leave and disappear from the heaven and earth battlefield. Why do I feel like I am sending my own granddaughter out? The old priest muttered. He shook his head and was prepared to leave the heaven and earth battlefield to get back to the bank. Eternal Land. Tianyun and Tianya were back together and they left the range of the world-grade teleportation formation right away. Tianya, what did grandfather priest's words mean? Tianyun was concerned. Although the old priest warned him before, Tianyun was still anxious and had to ask to be safe. Tianya shook her head and said, I can't tell you. Why? Tianyun asked. Because this is our secret. Tianya said crisply. Then, I won't ask you about the secret. Can you tell me about this Granddad Deity? Tianyun asked in another way. Granddad Deity is Granddad Deity and he is really amazing. Xiao thought about it and said. Then, compared to your grandfather priest, who is stronger? Tianyun asked. Granddad Deity. Tianya said without hesitation. Grandfather priest is Granddad Deity's subordinate and in front of him, he doesn't dare to move or go against his orders. Thus, Granddad Deity is the best. Tianya thought about how careful the old priest was in front of Xiandao and said confidently. Tianyun was shocked. The priest was already so amazing, but in the end, he was the subordinate of Granddad Deity. That was just unbelievable. So, how strong was he? What did he ask you to do? Tianyun asked again. Of course, Xiao nearly said it but she looked at her grandfather unhappily. Granddad Deity told me not to tell anyone. This is our secret, so grandfather, please stop asking. Xiao's face became solemn and he said right away. Tianyun apologized, sorry, it is my fault and I will stop asking. Let's save your mother now. Tianya relaxed. Grandfather, don't worry. Granddad Deity is really amazing. If people want to hurt me, why don't we just fight back? Tianyun looked at Tianya and was speechless. That made sense. Even if Granddad Deity didn't help, if the old priest did, the enemy would fall right away. Which is why there is nothing to be worried about. Tianya smiled. Grandfather is just worried about your safety. You are so weak and you have just built your foundations, so how can you even help him? Tianyun sighed. Don't worry, I will definitely be able to do this and it's really safe too. Xiao said firmly. Okay, you are more promising than your grandfather and you know these mysterious people. But just one more question and I won't ask any more. Tianyun raised one finger. Tianya thought about it and said, just ask, I will see whether or not I can answer it. Compared to your other grandfather, who is stronger? Tianyun asked. Grandfather. Tianya muttered with a complicated expression. He looked at him with a confused gaze and didn't know why his grandfather asked that. Your other grandfather always wanted to snatch you away. If your Granddad Deity is stronger than him, you can ask him to protect you. I don't have the skill and can't protect you. As long as you are fine, I will be the happiest person alive. Tianyun doted on her. At the start, he didn't like having a granddaughter. After all, there was still much sexism. But after she was born, Tianyun became her slave. You could kill him but he wouldn't let anybody harm his granddaughter. Now that he wasn't really able to protect her, he wanted to find someone who could. Granddad Deity was someone he considered. Granddad Deity wears a mask and is very cool. He stands tall like the world cannot make him bend. His aura is like that of a mountain, like that of the ocean. It is really deep and can't be measured. Tianya recalled her memory of Li Xiandao. I have seen grandfather twice and he feels very overbearing and cold. But Granddad Deity is different. He is warm and makes one feel happy. He is also really strong. If I am to compare them, grandfather is no match for Granddad Deity. Tianya said confidently. Tianyun believed his granddaughter and said, from now on, I won't ask you for anything. You must plan for yourself and remember to protect yourself. Tianya nodded her head, I will. Hong. But just at that moment, a flag slashed across the sky and pointed toward the space in front of Tianyun, causing a huge commotion. Miss Xiaoye, I miss you. A low voice rang out, terrifying Tianyun so badly that his face turned white. He hugged Tianya and retreated. Chapter 159, Wen family and Tian family. Tian Yun protected Tianya as they retreated. They looked warily at the people ahead of them. Da-da-da. A handsome, middle-aged man walked over slowly and pulled out the flag from the ground. He pointed at Tian Yun and said, "Old fellow, you really are bold. You actually dared to bring Wenye into the heaven and earth battlefield. If anything happens to Wenye, even if you die 100 times, you still won't be able to atone for your sins." Tian Yun frowned and said, "Tianya is my granddaughter. Her surname is Tian, not Wen." "Right, I am Tianye, not Wenye," Tianya said. The middle-aged man burst into laughter and said in disdain, "Who are you to decide what Wenye is called?" Tian Yun stared at the middle-aged man in a rage. He was so furious that he trembled. "You are only Countless Sands Realm Stage 10 and you've still been injured. Whether or not you can even block one strike from me is a problem, so how are you going to protect Wenye?" The middle-aged man said coldly. "I will use my life to protect Wenye," Tian Yun said firmly. "Your life?" The middle-aged man burst into laughter and shook his head, "Your life is not worth anything to me. But your Wen family can't deny that my Tian family's blood flows in Tianya's body." Tian Yun shouted in rage. The middle-aged man's gaze turned cold as he stared at Tian Yun. The rage surged within him, causing an aggressive aura to rise around his body. "My sister is so beautiful and intelligent. She has innumerable positive sides to her and was the crown prince's concubine of Feather Transformation God Dynasty, the future empress. But all of this was ruined by your son. My Wen family swears that we will wipe out your Tian family to vent the hatred in our hearts." The middle-aged man hollered in rage. His angry expression was very terrifying and it wasn't handsome at all. He was Wen family's second young master, Wen Ming, Tianya's mother's second brother, and also Tianya's uncle. Wen Ming was the person who looked forward to Tianya's mother Wen Xinyun's growth. He wanted her to marry into the Feather Transformation God Dynasty to become the future empress. When that happened, the Wen family, a third-grade family in Eternal Land, would rise and become a top power. This was similar to a single person understanding the Dao or a dog rising into the heavens. But what Wen Ming and the Wen family hadn't expected was that when they let Wen Xinyun travel for 3 months, she fell for another guy and even supported him in his cultivation for a full 3 years. With her servants' help, the entire Wen family had no idea about the matter. When the Wen family people realized what was going on, Wen Xinyun was already pregnant and the whole thing couldn't be kept in the dark. Rage. From top to bottom, everyone in the Wen family was furious. But they didn't dare to make a huge fuss out of this. They even tried to hide it from other people and wanted to force Wen Xinyun to abort the baby. They also tried to kill Tianya's father, Tian Heng. But what they didn't expect was that in a short 3 years, Tian Heng would grow so much. He killed everyone that the Wen family sent. He even managed to save Wen Xinyun, which was something the Wen family didn't expect either. Now, the whole thing couldn't be kept a secret anymore as Tian Heng and Wen Xinyun fled around the world, avoiding the Wen family's attacks. The Wen family was infuriated. During that chase, they went all out. Even if they killed Wen Xinyun in the process, they didn't want to let her give birth to the child. This child was an insult to the Wen family. To the crown prince of the Feather Transformation God Dynasty, this kid was a sign that he had been cheated on. But in the end, Tian Heng still managed to take all of them down. He fought alone against an army, drawing the Wen family to battle all around, causing chaos everywhere. Wen Xinyun went back to Tian Heng's family and found Tian Yun to tell him that he wanted to give birth to the child. Tian Yun pitied his son and Wen Xinyun for being such a sad couple. He could only prepare everything in the dark and help Tian Yun give birth. That continued until Tianya's birth. 10 years had passed since Tianya was born and she had become a little girl now, becoming more and more beautiful as she got older. However, during those 10 years, the Wen family's attempts to kill them hadn't stopped. Tian Heng fought for 10 years, sacrificing his life to drag the Wen family army back. 10 years later, Tian Heng was nowhere to be seen. Some said that he was killed by the Wen family while some said that he had lost his cultivation. 10 years of battling had left him handicapped. Maybe he was somewhere begging for food now. As for Wen Xinyun, after giving birth to Xiaoa, she went out to search for Tian Heng and wanted the whole family to unite. But each time she went out she returned without nothing. During the latest trip, Wen Xinyun was poisoned and on the verge of death. Tian Yun had to seal her up and bring Tianya into the heaven and earth battlefield to find the 5-colored giant snakes Neodon. If you want to kill all my Tian family members, I have nothing to say except that Wen Xinyun is your sister. You tried to poison her. Tianyun was furious. He knew that Wen Xinyun was poisoned by her second brother. Otherwise, with Wen Xinyun's strength, it would be tough for Wen Ming to take her down. Wen Ming laughed coldly, sister. Since she started being shameless and got pregnant, she was kicked out from the Wen family. I am her brother, but she destroyed my chance of working under the Feather Transformation God Dynasty Crown Prince. So, shouldn't I kill her? Wen Ming gritted his teeth and said. If Wen Xinyun married the Crown Prince, he would be a relative of the royal family. The Feather Transformation God Dynasty's strength was enormous and they had businesses in the top few lands. If the Wen family was able to enter such a God Dynasty, wouldn't it be perfect for them? You poisoned your own sister for your own gain. As expected from someone from a large family, all of you are so cunning and scheming. Tianyun mocked. What do you know? A girl using her marriage to contribute to her family. What is wrong with that? The Wen family raised her, so she has to give back to the Wen family. Moreover, the Feather Transformation God Dynasty is such a great family. Even if he was a beggar, she would still have to marry him. Wen Ming spoke the cold, cruel truth about the aristocratic families. Girls were merely tools for marriage and reproduction. Men were the foundations of a family. That was why Wen Xinyun destroyed the Wen family and Wen Ming's chance. That was unpardonable and she deserved to die. It didn't matter if Wen Xinyun didn't want to marry him and if she wanted to chase her own love. She trusted her own eyes and chose Tian Heng, who had limitless potential. You are too cruel. Tianyun said coldly. I am telling you all this so that you know that a chicken can't match up with a phoenix. Your Tian family are all bottom cultivators, so you should just continue to be bottom dwellers. Don't think about climbing up the ladder as you are no match for the Wen family. Wen Ming was really cold. He walked over and wanted to kill Tianyun to take Tianya back. Tianya, run! I will hold him back. Tianyun hollered as he placed Tianya down, allowing her to run. Tianya looked at grandfather's back as he left. She was so shocked that she didn't know what to do. Run? She had small hands and legs, so where could she run to? Granddad deity. Tianya thought about Li Xiandao. Granddad deity can definitely save me. Tianya didn't care about the quiet place Li Xiandao had mentioned. She just decisively took out the coordinates. Chapter 160, Kneel down, you trash. Tianyun attacked right away. However, because of the severity of his injuries and the fact that he only had a dozen days of rest, his injuries weren't healed up yet. His attack seemed soft to Wen Ming. It was totally powerless. Scram! The bastard that you gave birth to has destroyed my Wen family's plan and has also killed so many of our people. Now that we have dealt with your son, it is time for you to die. Wen Ming was furious. The flag in his hand wrapped aggressively forward and covered Tianyun. Explosion! The flag was a really amazing treasure that was refined at Countless Sand's realm. After he activated it, sand and stone from all around flew into the air. Lightning from above struck down and it was a truly majestic sight. Pang! Tianyun's fist technique and aura were totally useless under the sweeping attack of the flag. He was smacked aside, flying dozens of meters away and falling to the ground. Pui! Tianyun spat out a mouthful of blood. The wounds that he had just healed up split open once more. He looked on with his dying breaths and found it tough to even cry for help. I told you you were trash, but you didn't believe me. Wen Ming laughed coldly. He held the large flag and walked slowly. On his face was the smile of a victor. You can kill me but don't kill Tianya. She is innocent in all of this. Tianyun begged with a weak voice. He suppressed the pain and struggled to climb up. As it was so unbearable, his face was ashen white and he had a pained expression on his face. Innocent. Wen Ming laughed coldly. He looked at Tianya who was playing with a piece of stone a distance away. Wen Ming wasn't fazed. A Foundation Realm brat playing with a piece of stone seemed normal to him. He looked back at Tianyun and said solemnly, in this matter, no one is innocent. Tianyun's eyes opened wide and he looked at Wen Ming in disbelief. Don't look at me like that. Wenya does not know anything but her birth is her sin. This sin will accompany her for the rest of her life and it will never be wiped away. Wen Ming said coldly. Tianyun said in despair, you are her uncle and you still want to kill her. Uncle. Wen Ming gave a perverted but elegant smile and stared at Tianya who was still playing with the rock. Flames of rage appeared in his eyes. If she was not around, I would be beside the crown prince of Feather Transformation God Dynasty, stepping on the heads of everyone and enjoying power right now. I could even use the power to gain cultivation and resources. I wouldn't be weaker than all those so-called geniuses. Wen Ming was filled with grievances. It is all her fault. Because of her birth, things had gone to the extreme. Feather Transformation God Dynasty stopped caring about our Wen family and all our partners ditched us. The Wen family fell to the ground all because of her. Wen Ming stared at Tianyun and his expression slowly became maniacal. So, do you agree that her sin is the fact that she was born? Wen Ming smiled. Tianyun was shocked. He knew that Wen Ming was crazy and the entire Wen family was too. Old fellow, you are badly injured and even if I don't do anything, you will die in a few days. I will let you see how it feels to lose a loved one. Wen Ming laughed out loud and walked arrogantly towards Tianyun. No. Tianyun gave a weak shout. You can kill me. Kill me please but let the kid go. Tianyun shouted in despair. Wen Ming stopped and looked at Tianyun. His lips curled out, great, kneel down, kneel. Shout 3 times that you are trash and the Tian family is trash. Tianyun looked at Wen Ming, whose aura was turning evil. He didn't know what to do. You aren't kneeling. His expression became dark. He turned around and strolled towards Tianyun. Pang! I am trash. A hoarse roar filled with despair, weakness, and rage made Wen Ming stop. Ha ha ha, not bad, you are a trash. 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 Wen Ming laughed manically. He pointed at Tianyun and felt really good about himself. Continue shouting, shout that your Tian family is filled with trash. Wen Ming's rushed him eagerly. He really wanted to hear that from Tianyun. He was the happiest he had ever been and was about to climax. Tianyun's gaze was filled with despair and his lips shuddered. They opened and closed, but in the end, he still decided to shout it out. No one in the Tian family is trash. A tender voice rang out first. The voice was extremely firm and confident. What did you say? Wen Ming was about to climax but Tianyun's voice interrupted him. He stared at her like a wolf that wanted to swallow her and skin her alive. I will shout it. No one in Tian family is trash. Tianyun's small face tensed up and rage surged in her eyes. She stood there firmly and stared at Wen Ming. Even if Wen Ming was really fierce, violent, and cruel, Tianyun still said firmly, my grandfather is not trash. My father is not trash. I am not trash. Ha ha ha. Wen Ming clutched his stomach and laughed out loud. He pointed at Tianyun and his voice turned into a howl, do you know who you are talking to? For me to kill you, it is as simple as killing an ant. Even you, a Foundation Realm brat, dares to say such words. Are you sick and tired of living? Wen Ming stepped towards Tianyun. He said something with each step he took. His face was ice cold and filled with killing intent. Explosion. Rumbling energy like that of an Azura surged towards Tianyun. At that moment, Tianyun was like a small piece of grass in a storm. She swayed from left and right but was still deeply rooted to the ground. I know why you are so angry. I also know why you want to force grandfather to say that all of us are trash. Tianyun gritted her teeth and said. Wen Ming stopped. She stared at her with a dark gaze and raged, what are you saying? I heard mother mention it before. Tianyun suddenly smiled. Although she was only 10, she had an unbelievably strong confidence and charm. 10 years ago, you brought people to kill my father but he massacred all of them. Tianyun said word by word. Wen Ming's body shook. It wasn't fear. It was anger. It was rage. This was something he had buried in his heart for 10 years. Shut up! Wen Ming hollered in rage. He wanted Tianyun to keep quiet and not reveal what happened that year. Tianyun laughed out loud, my father made you kneel down to shout that you are trash before he let you live. What you are doing now is just a coward finding consolation. Go and die. Wen Ming's rage exploded. His fingers turned into a claw and he teleported forward to try and kill Tianyun. Pang! But Tianyun reacted quickly. She knew that Wen Ming would be angry, so she injected all her strength into the world coordinates at her feet. Explosion! The world coordinates shook and a bright glow exploded from it. A tall man appeared with a dark gold mask. He stood with his hands behind his back and looked coldly at Wen Ming attacking. Kneel, you trash! Xiandao scoffed coldly. His aura was like an ancient mountain that smashed down onto Wen Ming. Pang! Ming spat out blood and fell to the ground. His knees cracked and he knelt down. He spat out large mouthfuls of blood and his eyes were filled with disbelief. He knelt right in front of Li Xiandao. Chapter 161, I have waited for this day for a long time. The pressure that Li Xiandao exerted forced Wen Ming to kneel down on the ground. He lowered his head with an expression of arrogance. Even if his heart was filled with shock, he was still unwilling to admit defeat. After that time, I swore that I would never kneel in front of anyone ever again. You can forget about making me kneel. Wen Ming gritted his teeth and hollered in rage. The true qi in his body surged, turning into flames to help him up. Explosion. The aura he exuded now was much thicker. At this point, Wen Ming was using all the strength he had. Countless Sans Realm Stage 18. Wave after wave of intense heat supported Wen Ming as he arrogantly stared at Li Xiandao. You can forget about making me kneel down. Wen Ming hollered in rage. Li Xiandao looked at him coldly and asked, is that so? Clang. In Li Xiandao's eyes, a sharp sword energy appeared which shot forwards. Soul Sword. This was something Li Xiandao had created himself. It was a type of soul sword technique that focused on dealing with the soul. Slice. This sword slashed down right on Wen Ming's soul and made him cry out. Blood flowed out from his eyes, mouth, nose, and ears. All his holes were bleeding. Wen Ming cried out and knelt on the ground. He used his hands to support himself, which made him look like a dog. What did you just say? Li Xiandao stood to the side and asked coldly. Do you want to stand up? Do you want to stand up in front of Li Xiandao? Even if the gods came today, you wouldn't be able to stand up. Li Xiandao looked at Wen Ming coldly. From the bank of the universe, Li Xiandao had seen everything that had happened here. It was not only him who saw it, Seven saw it too. They saw Tianya being bullied. That little girl was pitiful and that annoyed Seven and made her curse at Wen Ming. Li Xiandao doted on Tianya and felt heart-pained. This girl was looked down on by many in her life and was forced to be on the run. In these 10 years of growing up, she actually didn't turn out bad. Instead, from all the pressure and difficulties, she grew like a beautiful lotus in the mud. Thus, the moment Tianya activated the world coordinates, Li Xiandao immediately teleported over to help her solve her problems. It was just Wen Ming. Li Xiandao could just use his aura to suppress him to death. Ah! My head hurts. My soul has been struck. Who are you even? Wen Ming hollered in rage and his brain was about to explode. After Tianya saw Li Xiandao, her eyes were filled with joy. The fake confidence she had just now had broken down. She chose to believe in Li Xiandao at her lowest point and placed all her hope in Li Xiandao's body. Now that Li Xiandao appeared, the little girl's eyes turned red. After all, she was just 10 years old. Granddad deity. Tianya teared up a little. Her small body seemed very thin and weak in the wind. Her hair fluttered around which made her look extremely pitiful. Li Xiandao's heart went soft and he reached out, come and hug Granddad deity. Tianya ran over and jumped into Li Xiandao's arms and enjoyed Granddad deity's embrace. Tian Yun, who saw these scenes in the distance, heaved a sigh of relief. He was resting on the ground and looked on quietly. When Wen Ming saw this, he lost his mind and hollered in rage, this senior, this is our Wen family's matter. If you interfere in this, the Wen family won't let you off. Wen Ming tried to use the Wen family to threaten Li Xiandao. When Tianya heard this, she felt really nervous and grabbed Li Xiandao's arm. She felt really afraid that Li Xiandao would give up on her. Li Xiandao smiled in disdain. Is the Wen family that amazing? The intense pain that Wen Ming felt became increasingly painful. It felt worse than death. When he heard Li Xiandao's words, he hollered with impatience, my Wen family has people that are at transcendent realm. You can suppress me, but for those who are above mortality, you definitely can't beat them. Release me, let me go, and everything can be salvaged. Li Xiandao looked at him and asked in disdain, is that very amazing? Wen Ming was furious. He raised his head and stared at Li Xiandao with his blood-red eyes. With how he was looking at him now, he seemed really terrifying and vicious. Do you think that just because you can suppress me, you can talk down on the transcendent realm? Wen Ming hollered and tried his best, struggling to break free from Li Xiandao's pressure. Clang! Right away, Li Xiandao gathered a translucent sword energy mid-air which flew towards Wen Ming. Transcendent, is it like this? Li Xiandao asked calmly. The sword energy was like bone-stabbing ice. Contrary to the cold, the key was the Dao within. Numerous Daos were gathered within and condensed together. The moment they exploded, it would be extremely destructive. This was the energy of the countless sands realm. Wenming looked at Li Xiandao in shock. He was actually at Transcendent Realm? I am using countless sands stage 18 strength, the same realm you are at to suppress you, and you can't even struggle free. Now, you are using Transcendent Realm seniors to threaten me. Is that useful? Li Xiandao laughed coldly. You, Wenming couldn't understand why a Transcendent would protect the little brat. What is your relationship with Tianyi? Wenming questioned. Li Xiandao looked at Tianyi, who was hugging his leg, and announced, she is someone I am protecting. With me here, no one in 9 skies and 10 lands can hurt her. Li Xiandao announced. Tianyi listened on and looked at her granddad deity. Her sense of fear dissipated right away. You are only at Transcendent Realm. There are so many people who are stronger and at Transcendent Realm in the 9 skies and 10 lands. My Wen family ancestor is an expert among the Transcendents. And you actually dare to brag that no one can hurt her. Wenming burst into laughter and mocked Li Xiandao's arrogance. Li Xiandao looked coldly at Wenming, whether or not I can do it has nothing to do with you. You have spoken enough nonsense. Xiao, pick up my sword energy and slice off your uncle's head. Li Xiandao instructed coldly. Tianyi was stunned and didn't expect Granddad Deity to allow her to do it. Wenming was shocked and wanted to beg. But Li Xiandao frowned. You are like a clown yapping on and on. I hate how noisy you are. I don't like it, so shut up. When Li Xiandao said this, true qi surged out and sealed Wenming's mouth. Li Xiandao looked at Tianyi and retreated backward, not letting her hug his leg. Don't let Tianyi do such a gruesome thing. Tianyun shook his head and rejected. Li Xiandao looked at him coldly and said directly, I saved her because she is worth me doing that. You have no right to interfere between us. If she isn't willing, then she can refuse it herself. A while ago when Tianyun was asking Tianyi about these matters, Li Xiandao, who was observing the situation from the bank of the universe, felt really annoyed. The old priest had warned him not to ask about it. But then after he left Heaven and Earth battlefield and returned to Eternal Land, he immediately started probing. He disregarded the old monk's words and didn't listen. Now, Tianyun was totally speechless. Li Xiandao looked at Tianyi and wanted to see how she would make a decision. This uncle of yours tried to hurt your mother and nearly killed your grandfather. He also wants to kill you. Would Tianyi choose to kill him? Or, forgive him? If it was the latter, Li Xiandao would be disappointed. In the future, he would still protect her, but he wouldn't like her so much anymore. If she was too kind, then she would be a saint. Li Xiandao was a businessman and didn't like saints. Tianyi picked up Li Xiandao's Transcendent Realm sword energy, smiling happily with Li Xiandao. Granddad Deity, do you know? I have waited a long time for this. After Tianyi said this, she slashed down with a sword. Chapter 162, in the past, it was. This sword is for my mother. Tianyi's small face was filled with rage as she slashed the sword downward. Tianyi's sword directly killed Wenming. After killing him, Tianyi quickly turned around. She dared to kill him but she didn't dare to witness the gory scenes. Li Xiandao walked over, holding Tianyi's hand. He didn't even look at Wenming and just walked away. He passed by Tianyun. Although he was unhappy about how he kept asking for news, he gave Tianyi a face and didn't want to let him die. I will protect your heart and keep you alive. As for your injuries, you must heal them yourself. Li Xiandao said calmly. He reached out and injected true qi into Tianyun's body. Tianyun was badly injured. Even with Li Xiandao protecting his heart, he needed to heal for a year in order to fully recover. Explosion. Li Xiandao's true qi was really strong and after injecting it in, Tianyun's heart was protected. It allowed him to stand up, so he didn't have to rest on the ground like before. Thank you, deity. Tianyun thanked him and didn't dare to go against Li Xiandao anymore. Li Xiandao released Tianyi's hand and said, go back with your grandfather. You should be okay for now. Remember to leave right after saving your mother as the Wen family will definitely take revenge. Tianyi asked curiously, Granddad Deity, where are you going? Li Xiandao said calmly, I have something to do. Can I help? Tianyi asked. She realized that she was a little reluctant to leave Granddad Deity. Granddad Deity was so amazing and he was able to make someone like Wenming kneel. Li Xiandao shook his head and said, "You won't be able to help me." "Then, can Granddad Deity tell me what is it that you are doing?" Tianya hugged Li Xiandao's leg reluctantly. Li Xiandao looked down and saw the cute Tianya and said, "I am killing someone." Li Xiandao had already said this when he was at ancient desolate land. That after he entered eternal land, he would definitely kill Ling Ren. She not only attacked him from worlds away, but she even sent someone over to kill him. What a bully! Now that Li Xiandao was here in eternal land, the first thing he wanted to do was kill Ling Ren. To collect the Bank of the Universe's debts? No. To gain more customers to redeem the Bank of the Universe? No. Li Xiandao just wanted to kill. He just wanted to kill Ling Ren. Who is that? Tianya asked. She was like a pendant that hung on Li Xiandao's leg. A celestial. Li Xiandao said calmly, not mentioning Ling Ren's name. Tianyun continued to listen, not wanting to interrupt at first. However, he was really shocked. Senior deity, the human celestials are really amazing people. They are between humans and celestials. They also have a portion of the strength of celestials. In eternal land, they are top experts. Tianyun was worried. Tianya believed Li Xiandao and asked, "Granddad deity, are you at human celestial realm?" Li Xiandao shook his head, "Not yet." He was a little away. Li Xiandao wasn't a human celestial yet. If he was, he would have been able to cross worlds into eternal land and killed Ling Ren. Senior deity, it is best if you break through to human celestial realm before you try to kill the person. Tianyun suggested. Tianya also said, "Granddad deity, human celestials are really strong. When you break through, you will definitely be able to kill them." Li Xiandao picked up Tianya and said, "She is just a human celestial. She isn't as amazing as you think. Both of you can go back. I am going to kill someone." Tianyun and Tianya wanted to say something but Li Xiandao's one step took him into the distance. Another step and he was gone. "Granddad deity!" Tianya shouted. "Okay little Ye, your granddad deity is much stronger than us, so naturally, he has his own plans. We can only just wish him luck. We need to rush back to save your mother and then hide from the Wen family." Tianyun said. Tianya nodded. Granddad deity will definitely be able to kill him. She chose to return with her grandfather to save her own mother. Within eternal land, Li Xiandao was looking around to familiarize himself with the place. The spiritual energy here is 100 times that of ancient desolate land. One breath here makes me feel energized. As expected, the spiritual energy quality is different in different worlds. Li Xiandao was amazed. The difference was understandable. After all, eternal land was close to the 9 skies and could absorb most of the spiritual energy from there. But for the quality to be much different was quite unacceptable too. No wonder Dali land and ancient desolate land wouldn't be able to rise up. Now that Li Xiandao brought the Bank of the Universe here, the people who followed could all improve. Hong! As he walked, Li Xiandao entered the Bank of the Universe. Inside, everyone was gathered together. After the Bank of the Universe entered eternal land, it absorbed the spiritual energy here to strengthen itself, making cultivation inside no different from the outside. Li Xiandao didn't meet them and instead went to find Chu Bai alone. Li Xiandao was in his sleeping room when Chu Bai came to visit. "Greetings master. How can I find Ling Ren?" Li Xiandao asked directly. He wanted to kill Ling Ren. But that would depend on whether he would be able to find Ling Ren. Chu Bai did say that Ling Ren's traces were uncertain and she was training everywhere. Li Xiandao had no idea where she was, which was why he came to find Chu Bai. The clone knew many things about the main body, so Chu Bai definitely knew how to find Ling Ren. When Ling Ren split her body up, she didn't expect that her clone would birth its own consciousness and also break out of her control. Which was why Chu Bai knew all her secrets. Chu Bai said respectfully, "Master, it is tough to know where she is at, but I have a way to force her out." Li Xiandao looked at her and said solemnly, "Enlighten me." Ling Ren is a very overbearing woman and she has to get what she wants. She is able to break through to human celestial realm in 10,000 years all thanks to one person. Chu Bai said slowly. "Who?" Li Xiandao asked. "Feather Transformation God Dynasty, Northern Region Lord." Chu Bai said in a serious tone. Feather Transformation God Dynasty, Northern Region Lord. Li Xiandao muttered. He was quite fated with this Feather Transformation God Dynasty. In less than a day after entering Eternal Land, he had come into contact with two of the higher UPS. The Emperor trusts the Northern Region Lord since he is his brother. He is in charge of the North, which is why he is called the Northern Region Lord. In Feather Transformation God Dynasty, he is above nearly everyone and only below one. Chu Bai explained. What is their relationship? Li Xiandao asked. He knew that this Northern Region Lord had to be amazing. He must have been really strong. Feather Transformation God Dynasty and 10,000 Dragon Empire was different. Just listening to the name one would know. One was a God Dynasty. One was an empire. To be a lord in a God Dynasty and to be in charge of the North, that person had to be amazing. Chu Bai said with a weird expression, Ling Ren is a woman who he saw in secret. Li Xiandao had guessed it and wasn't surprised. So, she's his mistress. She was. Chu Bai said. Was. Li Xiandao's was a little surprised. Chapter 163, Romantic Matter. A single was immediately shifted one's imagination and gave one many ideas. She was the Northern Region Lord's mistress back then, but what about now? Li Xiandao coughed and stopped his imagination. Continue. In Li Xiandao's room, Seven silently appeared in the corner. She grabbed a bunch of sunflower seeds and silently ate them in the corner. If Li Xiandao hadn't glanced at her, he probably wouldn't have noticed her. Why are you here? Li Xiandao frowned and projected his voice into her ear. Can't I enter when the two of you are in the room? Seven asked calmly. I don't mean that. I mean that you entered so silently and that scared me. Li Xiandao said right away. If you aren't doing anything against your conscience, then why would you be afraid of me scaring you? Seven muttered. Li Xiandao looked at her helplessly. Seven didn't bug Li Xiandao. She just held up the seeds in her hand and asked, do you want them? Li Xiandao sighed helplessly and took some. He just sat right next to Seven. How could he eat them while wearing a mask? Seven just wanted Li Xiandao to carry seeds for her. The two of them squeezed into a chair, which made Seven unhappy. But since Li Xiandao insisted, she could only accept it. Chu Bai looked on quietly. She suddenly felt full for some reason. Continue. Start from the beginning and then link up the story. Seven smiled and her face was filled with anticipation. Li Xiandao was sure now that Seven wasn't here to monitor him. The main reason was that she wanted to hear some gossip. Chu Bai collected her emotions and continued, Ling Ren was Northern Region Lord's mistress, but she wasn't willing to have no status. So, she kept on asking the Northern Region Lord to divorce his wife and marry her. Seven was munching on a seed. Northern Region Lord didn't agree, right? Li Xiandao guessed. Right. Northern Region Lord's wife was not someone who he could offend. Her father was a top expert in Feather Transformation God Dynasty, and after he learned of it, he locked the Northern Region Lord up for 30 years. Chu Bai nodded. How pitiful. Seven munched on another seed and said. Li Xiandao. And then? Li Xiandao asked. 30 years seems quite short in reference to 10,000 years, but at that time, both Ling Ren and Northern Region Lord were 100 years old. 30 years was a long time. When Chu Bai said that, her expression changed once more. Seven rushed, continue. Chu Bai said, after Northern Region Lord was locked up, Ling Ren's status fell and her family members didn't support her anymore. No one consoled her and it made her feel really depressed. At this time, the Northern Region Lord's father, the old emperor, met her. Li Xiandao was shocked. This was such a mess. Seven continued, munched on a seed. What happened next is just what you are thinking. Ling Ren and the old emperor got together, but he only wanted to play and didn't want to take responsibility. During that time he spent a lot of time with her, but when they returned, he chased her away. Chu Bai said as she reminisced her memories. Did that old hooligan do it on purpose? Li Xiandao asked. He suspected that the Northern Region Lord's father, the old emperor, knew Ling Ren's identity but acted like he didn't so as to play her. Seven was silently eating a seed. She realized that she was out and took one from Li Xiandao's hand. Chu Bai nodded. Ling Ren didn't want to leave and wanted to continue following him, but he rejected her mercilessly. The old emperor said that he just wanted to play with his son's mistress and he had enough fun, so he was going to throw her away. He told Ling Ren not to disturb the Northern Region Lord. If she did, he would wipe out her and her family. Li Xiandao shook his head. She was already a few hundred years old, so why was she so foolish to easily do such things with others? But since ancient times the royal family has always been a mess. Li Xiandao thought back to the Li Tang times in history. Chu Bai sighed, this might be because of her personality. 7 listened on quietly and ate another seed. From then on, Ling Ren started to live an open life. She started making friends with everyone. As long as it was beneficial for her, she would convince him, otherwise, she would go to bed with him. She would find a way to make herself stronger. Chu Bai said slowly. Her personality became so overbearing. Li Xiandao asked. No. Her personality has always been like that, but that was before her strength was obvious. After she reached human celestial, her true nature was revealed. Chu Bai shook her head. Then, over these 10,000 years how many people has she slept with? Li Xiandao asked curiously. 7 ate 2 seeds in a row and listened on quietly. Chu Bai shook her head. I can't count them all, but at least 10,000. Li Xiandao gave her the thumbs up. So amazing, 10,000 people. He envied her a little. What does this have to do with drawing Ling Ren out? 7 looked at Li Xiandao unhappily, but her words were directed at Chu Bai. Li Xiandao coughed and said seriously, right, what is the relationship between those two things? Chu Bai said right away, apart from me, no one in the world knows about these secrets. A slight revelation would be catastrophic for her. How so? Li Xiandao asked curiously. Chu Bai's face turned weird and she said, most people she slept with have families. The key is she alone slept with the Emperor, Lord and Prince of the current Feather Transformation God Dynasty. Damn! Li Xiandao exclaimed, she did them all. 7 opened her mouth in shock. She was just so amazing. Chu Bai muttered, after the old emperor hurt her heart, she swore that she would take revenge. She wanted to turn the Feather Transformation God Dynasty into a mess, which was why she did that. So, if I reveal this, Feather Transformation God Dynasty will take revenge on Ling Ren. Li Xiandao suddenly touched his chin. He didn't want to kill her as that was just too simple for her. She did so many heroic things, so Li Xiandao felt like he had to promote them for her. To kill someone, you had to hit them where it hurt. This was what Li Xiandao wanted. Master, Feather Transformation God Dynasty actually owes the Bank of the Universe many things too. 7 suddenly remembered and said. Li Xiandao stood up and thought carefully, go prepare all the contracts Feather Transformation God Dynasty owes us. Let's see their attitude toward repaying their debts. If not, we shall reveal everything and make them a laughing stock of the world. Li Xiandao changed his mind. He wanted to see what Feather Transformation God Dynasty's attitude was. If their attitude was bad, Ling Ren and them would die together. Chapter 164, Northern Region Lord's Contract. After entering Eternal Land, Li Xiandao was originally prepared to kill Ling Ren. But now he changed his mind. He had to kill Ling Ren, but it wasn't the right time. It would also depend on whether or not people from Feather Transformation God Dynasty would want to abide by the contract. Li Xiandao was waiting for 7 to bring the contracts. Chu Bai wanted to leave, but Li Xiandao made her stay. She was familiar with Eternal Land. After all, she had all of Ling Ren's memories. Although she wasn't as strong as Ling Ren, she would be able to help Li Xiandao. Chu Bai could only just stand there and continue to look at Li Xiandao and 7 bicker with one another. Luckily, 7 was preparing the Eternal Land's contracts. In just a short while, 7 took dozens of contracts and passed them to Li Xiandao. These are the currently effective Feather Transformation God Dynasty contracts. 7 said. Currently effective. Those other ones were cleared out by the Bank of the Universe. If those people who signed contracts died, then it was considered the Bank of the Universe's loss. Could one imagine how many people died in these 10,000 years and how much the Bank of the Universe had lost in the 9 skies and 10 lands? No wonder they were about to go bankrupt. Li Xiandao picked up the contract and took a look. There were a total of 15 different contracts. Some borrowed weapons, some borrowed lost cultivation techniques, and some borrow rare treasures. Li Xiandao looked at them one by one, and as expected, he saw a familiar name. Northern Region Lord. Li Xiandao looked at Chu Bai in shock and asked, how old is Northern Region Lord this year? Chu Bai thought about it and said, Northern Region Lord is the current emperor's brother and is roughly 10,112 years old. Li Xiandao pulled out the Northern Region Lord's contract and said, this should be the contract that the Northern Region Lord signed when he was locked up. It was written extremely clearly on the contract that the Northern Region Lord would exchange 100 top for slaying the heavens. Li Xiandao looked at the contract and was in deep thought. He asked, is slaying the heavens amazing? 7 explained from the side, of course, it is. It is a supreme technique created by the heavens. With 9 slashes, no one will be able to block it. Then, why was the Northern Region Lord able to borrow it with just 100 beauties? Li Xiandao was unhappy. 7's expression changed and looked at the contract. In her mind, she was wondering what the Bank of the Universe was like during the crisis. The owner had organized a party, numerous beauties wore revealing clothing and were just fooling around in the Bank of the Universe. 7 told Li Xiandao about it. It was the last few days of the Bank of the Universe. I was abandoned by the last owner, so he locked me up in a black house. As such, I don't know anything about the last few contracts that he signed. Li Xiandao looked at the contents of the contracts and was furious. In 3 months, the Bank of the Universe had to return the 100 beauties. The Northern Region Lord would return the slaying the heavens and bring the 100 beauties with him too. Damn! Was he sick in the head? A top technique in exchange for 100 beauties for 3 months? Wasn't he afraid his kidney would be spoiled? What a pervert! What a piece of trash! Li Xiandao cursed furiously under his breath. Slaying the heavens was such a top technique and it had been exchanged for just 200 top beauties. He didn't even get the other 100. Damn! Li Xiandao was extremely furious. 7 felt guilty and consoled Li Xiandao, this isn't your problem and it's just a mess that was left by the last owner. Let's take a look at the compensation terms. Li Xiandao and 7 looked at it together. Right away, both of them cursed out in unison. Damn! Even 7 was furious. The compensation column was blank, just like both Li Xiandao and 7's expressions right now. What should we do? 7 covered her face and felt a huge headache. Li Xiandao calmed himself down. No matter how much of an idiot the last owner was and no matter what he did, Li Xiandao had to run the Bank of the Universe well. Maybe we can use Ling Ren and Northern Region Lord Father's messy past to force the Northern Region Lord to return the slaying the heavens. Li Xiandao thought of an idea. 7 looked at Chu Bai and asked, does the Northern Region Lord know? Chu Bai shook her head and said, no, the Northern Region Lord was locked up and he often went to find Ling Ren after he came out. But due to the old emperor's threat, she rejected him and never met him ever again. Okay, then we can use this to threaten him. If he doesn't return it, don't blame me for revealing this matter. The one who loses face will be there, Feather Transformation God Dynasty. Li Xiandao said coldly. Then, what if he returns? 7 asked. Li Xiandao's face froze up. If the Northern Region Lord returned the slaying the heavens, then he would be abiding by the contract. Li Xiandao had to follow the contract and return 100 beauties to him. Li Xiandao closed his eyes and clenched his fists. He really wanted to smash the previous owner. Where could he find 100 beauties to return to Northern Region Lord? Now, I just hope that he won't follow the contract. Li Xiandao said helplessly. This was the first time he hoped for such a thing. 7 didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Don't worry. The last owner didn't sign that many contracts. So, there shouldn't be too many preposterous ones. Li Xiandao nodded his head and said, at least there is one less bad thing out of all the mess I have heard. 7 had nothing to say. Master, the Northern Region Lord is now at the peak of Transcendent Realm and is not far away from human celestial. Are you confident? Chu Bai was worried. Don't worry, I will find him personally. It is best if he doesn't want to follow the contract. If he does, then I will break his leg. Li Xiandao gritted his teeth and said. 7 looked at Li Xiandao's furious expression, and for some reason, she wanted to laugh. At the moment, Li Xiandao was really cute. But she knew that she couldn't. Li Xiandao was furious and if she laughed, what would happen if Li Xiandao disliked her for it? Send me the location of Northern Region Lord's residence. I will head there now. Li Xiandao didn't want to sit still at all and he just wanted to complete this whole matter. What if the Northern Region Lord returned to the Bank of the Universe and said that he wanted to return the slaying the heavens for 100 beauties? Li Xiandao would have to snatch 100 beauties for him. Just thinking about it made Li Xiandao feel uneasy. After Chu Bai sent Li Xiandao the location, Li Xiandao disappeared from the bank of the universe. Master is so fast, Chu Bai muttered. 7 sighed, too fast is not good. Chu Bai looked at 7 with a weird expression. As someone who had the memories of a girl that did it with 10,000 guys, although she had no experience, her knowledge was sufficient. Even if a virgin boy watched 10,000 movies, his theoretical knowledge would be quite high. The difference was that Chu Bai was the female star in all of them. I am just saying that it is bad for the body. 7 saw her gaze and felt like she had to explain it. I shall head to cultivate. Chu Bai retreated and just fled the scene. Chapter 165, Li Xiandao's Stubbornness. North Region. This was the place that the Northern Region Lord was in charge of. Eternal Land was really huge. Feather Transformation God Dynasty occupied a small area and managed a large region. North Region was to the north of the Feather Transformation God Dynasty. It was beside the Great Wild Forest where there were numerous wild beasts. Many ancient beasts lived here, and once this barrier was breached, the north would be seized. When that happened, the Feather Transformation God Dynasty would face a huge problem. They had no choice and had to send someone to defend the north. This person also had to be in charge of a huge army. Since the last Northern Region Lord died, the Emperor chose the new one to be his brother. The Northern Region Lord started to defend the north since he was 3,000 years old, and he was now 7,000 years old. He had become the undeniable master of the north. His words there were far more important than the decrees of the Feather Transformation God Dynasty. Of course, the Northern Region Lord didn't care about worldly matters unless the monsters in Great Wild Forest charged out. Normally, he would just spend time cultivating in his mountain villa. The Northern Region Lord had been a good person his whole life. When he was young, he listened to his father's words to be a good kid. When he got married he listened to his wife, and when he became the Northern Region Lord he listened to his brother. The only time he rebelled was during his relationship with Ling Ren. Northern Region Lord really liked Ling Ren, and he still liked her now. She was the perfect lover in his heart. The moon in front of his window. Ling Ren was his first love. This first love was forcefully taken away him. That made things even more unbearable and painful. To be together with Ling Ren, the Northern Region Lord wanted to divorce his wife, but his father-in-law ended up suppressing him. He reported it to the old emperor, and in rage, he locked up the Northern Region Lord for 30 years. During these 30 years locked up at home, the Northern Region Lord nearly went mad. When he could finally head out, the Northern Region Lord eagerly went to find Ling Ren, but he was met with a cold face and hurtful words. The Northern Region Lord knew that something had happened between him and Ling Ren. As for what the problem was, the Northern Region Lord didn't dare to imagine it. He was afraid to think about it. Over these years, he had heard about what Ling Ren had been doing. The world had a very bad impression of her as a person. But what the Northern Region Lord continued to think about was the Ling Ren who he had been together with him in the past. That woman of his most probably couldn't return anymore. In the back mountain, the Northern Region Lord was thinking about his first love. He suddenly sensed that there was someone behind him. He frowned and scolded, "Who is there?" Li Xiandao slowly walked out. He looked towards the Northern Region Lord without a mask on his face at all. This lord was really polite and had a scholarly feel to him. 10,000 years and it seemed like he hadn't broken away from that image. Unlike a lord with a huge army in his hands, he was more like a scholar who spent his whole life studying books. "Who are you? Why are you here? What is the reason you are sneaking around?" Northern Region Lord asked a series of questions. He held a jade fan and his face sunk. He didn't show any rage but still gave off a respectful aura. After being a lord for 7,000 years, even if he was a scholar, he would still give off some threat. The Northern Region Lord didn't call for the guards. He was really confident in himself and didn't believe that Li Xiandao could kill him instantly. If Li Xiandao could, then the guards would be useless too. At most, a few more people would just die. Northern Region Lord's residence is so well guarded and it is just so tough for me to meet you. Li Xiandao said calmly. If you want to meet me you can follow the standard procedure, so why did you have to sneak in? The Northern Region Lord was unhappy. Seeing that he wasn't as arrogant as he imagined he would be and was instead really polite, his heart started to sink. The thing I wanted to talk to you about is probably something you don't want a third person to know about. Li Xiandao smiled. Please speak. Northern Region Lord frowned and asked solemnly. Li Xiandao interrupted his imagination, which made him really unhappy. But with his good upbringing and 10,000 years of cultured living, he suppressed the unhappiness in his heart. He knew that because Li Xiandao was here, he would definitely say what he wanted to say. He would make his mind up after hearing what Li Xiandao said. Li Xiandao looked at him and his heart continued to sink. He asked, "Northern Region Lord, you owe me something. Do you know what it is?" Northern Region Lord frowned, "I owe you something. What is it? If I really do owe it to you, then I will definitely return it. But if you are talking nonsense and are maligning me, then don't blame me for being rude." The Northern Region Lord suppressed his rage and spoke calmly. Li Xiandao kept silent for a moment. This attitude wasn't right. You should be angry. You should rage. You should scold me. You should say that you don't owe anyone anything and that even if you do, you won't return it. This is what a powerful lord should say. What is with your calm attitude? So, what do I owe you? The Northern Region Lord questioned once more and his tone was now a little heavier. Li Xiandao sighed and took out a red watch. He looked at Northern Region Lord and hoped to see the rage in his eyes. Get angry. Say that you don't recognize this. You definitely won't return the top technique slaying the heavens to me. Li Xiandao prayed in his heart for the Northern Region Lord to behave arrogantly. But the Northern Region Lord, who was a little angry, was stunned after seeing the red watch. His expression became really complicated. Sadness, happiness, reminiscing, dejection. Li Xiandao could read out all the emotions. But there was no anger. The rage that Li Xiandao had been anticipating didn't appear. The Northern Region Lord took in a deep breath and then he cupped his fist and bowed. You are right. I do in fact owe you something. The Northern Region Lord admitted it. He openly admitted to it. His admission caused Li Xiandao's eyes to turn black. How was he going to find 100 beauties for the Northern Region Lord? 100. Li Xiandao himself was still single. What happened to you? Northern Region Lord looked at how Li Xiandao was rubbing his head and asked curiously. Nothing, my head hurts. Li Xiandao said. Your head hurts and you are rubbing your chest. The Northern Region Lord asked in confusion after seeing that Li Xiandao was rubbing his chest. My head hurt just now and now my heart hurts. Later my whole body will hurt. Li Xiandao's heart was bleeding. Brother, you are sick and need to be treated. Northern Region Lord consoled. I have a god doctor here who can treat you for free. The Northern Region Lord was concerned. He was really close and warm towards Li Xiandao. The Bank of the Universe was really magical to the Northern Region Lord. Although he entered just once, it was something he remembered for the rest of his life. He was very happy that he met someone from the Bank of the Universe once more. I am fine. Are you sure you are going to return it? Persisting, Li Xiandao asked one final time. Of course. Northern Region Lord said with certainty, I obviously have to pay someone what I owe. Li Xiandao looked at him expressionlessly. Let's head to the Bank of the Universe and settle this contract. Chapter 166, Chu Bai and Ling Ren. Li Xiandao pulled the Northern Region Lord into the Bank of the Universe. Because of the Bank of the Universe's rules, he had to do things according to the contract. What was written on the contract had to be followed. Once the owner of the contract wanted to come to the Bank of the Universe, Li Xiandao would be unable to reject him. This was why when he left Dali Land, Li Xiandao anxiously sent Heavenheart to clear out the Dali dynasty's elder. To do so, Li Xiandao even bent the rules. Heavenheart had to tell a story so that people didn't notice that anything was off. Thus, he avoided breaking the Bank of the Universe's rules. If the Dali dynasty elder entered the Bank of the Universe, that would be a huge loss for Li Xiandao. However, the Northern Region Lord was different from the Dali dynasty elder. Li Xiandao didn't even think that Northern Region Lord would agree to return slaying the heavens. That was the key. Li Xiandao thought that he wouldn't and he could tear apart the contract on the terms that he had broken the contract. Who knew? Now that the Northern Region Lord wanted to return it, even if Li Xiandao had celestial cultivation he couldn't harm the Northern Region Lord and had to receive him. In the Bank of the Universe, Li Xiandao left the Northern Region Lord halfway while he returned to the room alone. He was expressionless and really dejected. Seven looked at Li Xiandao and asked curiously, did you lose the battle? He would only behave this way if he had lost to the Northern Region Lord. Li Xiandao shook his head. Seven was confused and asked, then, you won. Li Xiandao continued to shake his head. Then, what happened? 7's face sunk. Li Xiandao sighed, we didn't even fight. What do you mean? 7 was a little confused. The Northern Region Lord took the initiative to return slaying the heavens and end the contract. Li Xiandao said helplessly. 7 knew what Li Xiandao was worried about. Bitterness appeared on her beautiful face. Where are you going to find 100 beauties for him? Li Xiandao was worried about that and asked, if I go against the contract, what kind of punishment will I suffer? 7 said solemnly, your credibility will decrease and the Bank of the Universe will be on the verge of collapse. If you break it 3 times, you will end up in the same situation as the last owner. If it happens 3 times, you will be destroyed. The Bank of the Universe will also be sealed up. The Bank of the Universe was really strong and the rules were simple. But Li Xiandao couldn't afford to break those rules now. Which is why I have to give him 100 beauties. Li Xiandao sighed and frowned. Even if he went to kidnap people in the city, he wouldn't be able to capture 100 beauties. Moreover, if any of them objected, then they wouldn't be counted either way. Anyway, Li Xiandao was facing a huge problem. 7 thought about it and had an idea. She said, we can't go against the contract, so we have to give him 100. But what if he doesn't accept it? Li Xiandao looked at 7 silently and saw hope. What do I need to tell him? Li Xiandao frowned. He couldn't just go to him and say, brother, I don't have 100 beauties with me. Can you just let it slide? Are you a fool? Chu Bai. 7 rolled her eyes at Li Xiandao. What about Chu Bai? Li Xiandao didn't care much, but instantly he looked at 7 like he had been electrocuted. Now, you know? Chu Bai is a clone of Chu Bai and they look the same. She is like the 18-19-year-old Ling Ren. Didn't you say that looking at her was like looking at a neighbor? 7 asked softly. Li Xiandao heaved a sigh of relief. He held her head and kissed it right away. You really are my lucky star. This is a good idea. I will find Chu Bai now and tell her to convince the Northern Region Lord. Li Xiandao ran after kissing her, leaving 7 stunned. After a long while, 7 returned to her senses. You do have the all-knowing talent. You definitely thought about it, so why are you so emotional? 7 was confused. You even kissed me. 7 ground her silver teeth. Hooligan. She scolded furiously. She covered her red cheeks and started to feel really shy. Li Xiandao called Chu Bai to the trading hall. Master, did you call me? Chu Bai asked. Someone you know is coming. Go welcome him. Li Xiandao wore the mask and was now wearing something else. Someone I know. Chu Bai was confused. Northern Region Lord. Li Xiandao said calmly. Chu Bai exclaimed and looked at Li Xiandao in shock. She felt a little awkward. Master, that was what Ling Ren did when she was young. I am just a clone, I don't have much to do with her. I need you to make the Northern Region Lord give up the contract. Li Xiandao tapped the table and said. Chu Bai looked at Li Xiandao in confusion. The contract states that I shall give him 100 beauties when the contract ends. I don't have them, so I can't hold my end of the deal. I need him to give up on it. Li Xiandao explained. Chu Bai nodded, understood, I shall go now and help solve Master's worries. This is my honor. Li Xiandao nodded his head in satisfaction as he looked at Chu Bai leave. The Northern Region Lord entered the Bank of the Universe and he slowly walked on this familiar yet foreign path. He looked around. 10,000 years ago, he was really young. He exchanged 100 girls for slaying the heavens. 10,000 years later he had gone through so much. Although time hadn't left any marks on him, it left many scars on his soul and his demeanor. Time has passed too quickly. Northern Region Lord exclaimed. As he walked, his body suddenly froze and his mouth was agape. What did he see? Moonlight. His love. Ling Ren. The Northern Region Lord took in a deep breath to calm himself down. He looked at Ling Ren who seemed as flawless as she was 10,000 years ago. Long time no see. Chu Bai looked at how the Northern Region Lord was suppressing his emotions. Her eyes swelled up and she sighed deep down. The Northern Region Lord was a devoted person. He became a lord and only loved one girl in his life. He lost his lover and didn't take any more concubines after. His relationship with his wife was really distant, meeting only a few times in a year. I am not Ling Ren, I am just a clone of hers. My name is Chu Bai. Chu Bai introduced herself. The Northern Region Lord was stunned and looked at her in disbelief. It really is true, I have all her memories. If you want to know about them, I can tell you. Chu Bai said firmly. Northern Region Lord asked, what do you need me to do? The fact that Chu Bai was waiting for him here and saying such things obviously meant that she was trying to make him do something. The Northern Region Lord was not a fool. He was really smart, but it was just that he was also really devoted. He was willing to listen to Chu Bai. Even just looking at her made him really satisfied. Chapter 167, Negotiate. The Northern Region Lord looked at Chu Bai and his eyes were filled with love that accumulated for 10,000 years. At that time, Ling Ren was pure and adorable. But now, Ling Ren had lost that purity. She was like a flower that had been through too much and had become much older. Although she was still so beautiful, she was no longer fresh and new. It was like a new, small path that was covered in dew every night and morning. That small path had now been trampled by people and carriages. The Northern Region Lord just acted like he didn't know about it. After he was rejected, he stopped looking for Ling Ren. That was enough to prove that he understood that Ling Ren had already died. But now, everything came back. This was why the Northern Region Lord just looked at her without blinking. Many thoughts filled his head, but his decent education stopped him from getting close. It was actually much better to look at her from dozens of meters away. After all, it had been 10,000 years. I will wait here for you. I just hope that after you enter you will choose to give up on the contract and that you won't agree to honor it. Chu Bai sucked in a deep breath and said sincerely. Why? The Northern Region Lord questioned. If it is inconvenient, then you don't have to say why. I am just curious. The Northern Region Lord added. There is nothing inconvenient about it. If you complete it, then we have to return you 100 beauties. The Bank of the Universe doesn't have so many. Chu Bai said truthfully. The Northern Region Lord laughed. I was wondering what the matter was. So, I just enter now. He said he was going to, but his legs didn't move. He continued to look closely at Chu Bai like he just wanted to imprint her looks right in his eyes. Just go in. After you come out, I will tell you everything. Chu Bai said. Just thinking about how he could spend some alone time with Chu Bai, the Northern Region Lord walked quickly. I will enter now, just wait a while for me. The Northern Region Lord, who was over 10,000 years old, was now like a small boy in his teens hurriedly entering the trading hall. Within the trading hall, Xiandao was sitting quietly with his legs crossed. His golden mask and crossed arms gave off a really cold aura. He was thinking about something. Once he got slaying the heavens, it was time for him to cultivate properly as he was just too weak now. He could sweep everyone in Dali land and ancient desolate land, but in eternal land, he couldn't even defeat a single one of them. He didn't even have to mention those under him. All of them were filled with boundless potential but were all really weak. They were all crazily absorbing the spiritual energy of eternal land to strengthen themselves. Their cultivation increased daily. Once it was time for them to come out of seclusion, they would be able to give Xiandao a surprise. Amongst his mixed thoughts, Xiandao saw the Northern Region Lord walk in. He arrived in front of his table really quickly, and when he saw Xiandao, he said in confusion, "You didn't wear a mask before." Xiandao said calmly, "The Bank of the Universe has a new owner." Only then did Northern Region Lord understand what had happened. "This is your contract, sign it. The moment you sign it and hand over the technique, I will return you 100 beauties." When Xiandao talked about the 100 beauties, he emphasized it. It was obvious that he wanted the Northern Region Lord to hear it. Northern Region Lord smiled and looked at the contract. He then tore it up in front of Xiandao. The contract was split into half. Northern Region Lord took a technique and said solemnly, "This is slaying the heavens and I will return it to you. I'm tearing the contract and I hereby state that we didn't complete it." Xiandao nodded his head, "Great. Can I head out now?" The Northern Region Lord missed Chu Bai and asked eagerly. "Go ahead." Xiandao waved his hands without much care. Northern Region Lord didn't hesitate at all and left right away. He didn't even bother to look when he tossed Slaying the Heavens. Xiandao silently looked at Slaying the Heavens in front of him. He reached out and grabbed it. It was good as new. The black book cover was slowly opened. Kang! A giant blade slashed out from within the book like it was slicing apart a world. It broke through the restrictions of the world and arrived in front of Xiandao. That strike caused Li Xiandao's body to shake. He placed down Slaying the Heavens and looked at it solemnly. So strong. Li Xiandao muttered. This is suitable for me. Legacy Hall grabbed Slaying the Heavens and stepped out, heading towards the Legacy Hall. Legacy Hall was at the foot of the mountain. Legacy Hall passed through the hanging paper cranes and walked to war god Zhao Wuji's tomb. Zhao Wuji was about to come out, but Li Xiandao shook his head. I have totally understood your Dao, so I have no need for you. War god Zhao Wuji was baffled and stared at Li Xiandao speechless. Li Xiandao didn't even stop in front of Sword God's tomb and continued to walk past. Sword God's remnant slowly looked at Li Xiandao and many question marks appeared in his mind. Was he being abandoned after he had been used? Li Xiandao walked to the front of the third tomb and started his comprehension journey. Outside the Bank of the Universe, Northern Region Lord's Mountain Villa. Everyone near the building at the peak was chased away. No one was to be within 10 miles of the building or they would be killed on the spot. The Northern Region Lord personally cooked for Chu Bai. Although Chu Bai told him not to bother, the Northern Region Lord said, I know that you aren't actually her, that you aren't Chu Bai. But since you have all her memories, then you should know that 10,000 years ago when I was locked up, I promised that I would cook something nice for her. Unfortunately, this meal is 10,000 years late. The Northern Region Lord said and couldn't help but feel sad about it. Chu Bai sighed helplessly, there are many things that we can't control in life. When what you think and do are different, many random thoughts will appear. It has already become a stubborn thought. Chu Bai said. Stubborn. The Northern Region Lord shook his head and smiled, I know the difference between stubbornness and love. I have been here for 7,000 years, what for? That is because this is my world, I can think about Ling Ren without any worry and disruption. Northern Region Lord said. What about your wife? Chu Bai asked. My wife. Northern Region Lord thought about it. He had to think carefully in order to remember what she even looked like. She should be enjoying the power of the Northern Region Lord. The North is under her control and the last time we met was just a hurried glance 3 years ago. Northern Region Lord said calmly. You are so cold to one another and have no feelings for one another. What about kids? Chu Bai asked. She knew that when the Northern Region Lord and Ling Ren were together, he didn't have any kids. But what happened afterward? The Northern Region Lord smiled. I don't have children. In 10,000, the Northern Region Lord hadn't even touched his wife. He would rather be a monk than have skinship with his wife. Why? Chu Bai didn't understand. When you are forced by a girl's father to marry her, you will know. The Northern Region Lord gave a bitter smile. Chapter 168, Northern Region Lord's Past. The Northern Region Lord was the closest to the throne in the past compared to the current emperor. When everyone in the world thought that he was about to be emperor of the Feather Transformation God dynasty, he unexpectedly decided to give up. The Northern Region Lord's decision caused an uproar and the most angry person was his wife. She married him because she wanted to become the empress, but he actually gave up on the throne. The empress position that was right in front of her had disappeared just like that. The anger from which made her go mad. The cold and shallow husband and wife relationship deteriorated to a freezing point. They only met each other a few times a year and didn't even talk to one another. The Northern Region Lord met Ling Ren and felt like he had found his true love. Ling Ren then demanded him to divorce his wife. When he sent the letter, what came back wasn't tears but a vengeful gaze. His wife called her invincible father, who slapped the Northern Region Lord to the ground. He then ordered the old emperor who had just given up the throne to lock him up for 30 years. 30 years totally ripped apart their relationship. Even if they lived in the same residence and saw one another occasionally, the Northern Region Lord didn't even bother to say a single word to her. Even if the concubine stripped naked and stood in front of him, he wouldn't even bother to look. So, what if their bodies looked good? They were just a bunch of protein. So, what if they were proportionate? They would droop down sooner or later. The Northern Region Lord just spent each day reading, and he got his subordinates to find many books for him. His scholar aura was nurtured over those 30 years. Northern Region Lord's wife was unhappy. She was once a jade-like girl, and after marrying the Northern Region Lord, she still hadn't had sex with him. Drug. She had drugged him and was prepared to do it dozens of times in one night. She wanted to suck him dry and get pregnant. When that happened, everything belonging to the Northern Region Lords would be hers. In this era, a woman without a child would be gossiped about. But after the Northern Region Lord fell for it, he locked himself in his room and did it himself. He wasn't even willing to let her touch him. He just needed to do it a few times. As for the process, he didn't remember much about it. She really gave up. After that matter, they were like strangers and didn't even look at one another. The Northern Region Lord was a free man and read books every day. There were golden buildings and beautiful girls in books who helped him cultivate his personality and mental state. His wife couldn't bear the loneliness and started to do it with other people. The Northern Region Lord rarely got angry in this life. The only time was because she did it with one of the children of the large families of the Feather Transformation God dynasty and had his child. She wanted to give birth to it and say that it was his kid. This infuriated him. At that time, he had already entered the Bank of the Universe and exchanged 100 beauties for slaying the heavens. He had also cultivated it for dozens of years. No one knew how terrifying it was when the polite-looking Northern Region Lord got mad. No one knew how terrifying his cultivation was. Currently, the Northern Region Lord had exceeded transcendent and he could beat her. In a rage, he slapped her in the face. True Qi exploded out and killed the kid in her womb. He said coldly, "Even if you let 10,000 or 100,000 men ride you, that is your own problem and I don't care. But if you dare to get pregnant and give birth to the kid, I will kill the bastard. If you continue to get pregnant, I will continue to kill the babies. I want to see how many babies will die in your womb." The Northern Region Lord said coldly. That night, the Northern Region Lord went out alone. With a sword in hand, he wiped out the entire family. That was the most bloody night in his life. It was also when he was the most cruel. It was also that night when his restrictions were removed and he could do whatever he wanted. As for his wife, no one would pity her. Even if the child was killed and she cried to her invincible father, there was nothing he could do either. The birth of that child would be bad news for the Feather Transformation God dynasty and the old emperor wouldn't agree to that either. Especially after the Northern Region Lord broke his stay-at-home orders to head out to kill. After he killed them, the old emperor didn't scold him and instead lifted the orders. He had already made his stand. This was why her cries were of no use. Since then, the Northern Region Lord's strength was exposed and decided to leave the Feather Transformation God dynasty's capital. He traveled around until he was 3,000 years old and was sent to the north. That single wait was 7,000 years. The Northern Region Lord looked at Chu Bai and spoke about his past. Chu Bai looked at him and sighed, "What is the point of you torturing one another?" Northern Region Lord shook his head, "I have seen past it and I don't want to see her. As long as I don't see her, I feel really good. I will be really optimistic and my cultivation rises a lot." Chu Bai asked curiously, "How strong are you now?" Northern Region Lord said, "Transcendent Stage 10. Chu Bai was stunned and said in shock, "When you killed the 1,000 people, you were at Transcendent Realm, right?" Northern Region Lord nodded, "I was at Stage 3 then." "So, in 10,000 years you've only improved by that little." Chu Bai found it weird. "You can't say it like that. When I was 180, I was already Stage 10. The Northern Region Lord shook his head. Chu Bai was stunned. What was going on? "Then, you didn't improve?" Chu Bai asked. "Even Ling Ren broke through to human celestial realm and became an elder-level person." Chu Bai said. "When I was 200 years old, I got a technique. The technique is really suitable for me, and for these 10,000 years, I have been cultivating it. So, my cultivation is still similar to what it was when I was 200. The Northern Region Lord explained. When facing Chu Bai, he didn't hesitate to reveal all of his secrets. Slaying the heavens wasn't his biggest trump card. That mysterious technique was. No wonder he returned it so quickly to Li Xiandao. "After saying my story, you should tell me about you and Ling Ren, right?" The Northern Region Lord said curiously. "You need to mentally prepare yourself." Chu Bai reminded him. "I have heard many rumors and have been prepared long ago. Just say it all, I can take it." The Northern Region Lord said firmly. "If your ability to take it is at 100, you should expand it to 1,000. Chu Bai hesitated. "It is that bad?" The Northern Region Lord was so scared that his hands were shaking. "Be mentally prepared." Chu Bai wanted to grab multiple green hats for him to wear. "Just say it, I have expanded it." The Northern Region Lord took in a deep breath. Chu Bai nodded and started to talk about Ling Ren's matter. Chapter 169, Green is clean but love corrupted it. Chu Bai looked at the Northern Region Lord and started to describe her past. While she was speaking, Northern Region Lord didn't interrupt. He was just being a quiet listener. The candle flames swayed in the night wind, casting a very long shadow of Northern Region Lord onto the ground. The story was really long. The story was also really twisted. Northern Region Lord listened and clenched his fists. He was expressionless like a wooden statue. When he heard about what happened between Ling Ren and his father, the Northern Region Lord closed his eyes. When he heard how his father was just playing with her, he opened his eyes and a sharp light shone out of them. Now, everything made sense. Why did his father lock him up for 30 years? Why did Ling Ren reject him coldly and choose to waste her life away? His father was the person behind it all. Shameless. His actions were just despicable. The Northern Region Lord was a learned person and he was filled with emotions. No wonder Chu Bai wanted him to be mentally prepared. Even if he was prepared, he was still caught off guard. He had heard of what happened next and thus he could accept it. But what he didn't expect was that Ling Ren had slept with the entire Feather Transformation God Dynasty royal family. The Northern Region Lord just sat there and didn't say a single word. After Chu Bai was finished, she felt heart-pained for him. She took out a green handkerchief and passed it to him. He looked at it and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Chu Bai said, "Green is health. It is the brightest color, but love corrupted it and gave it a bad name." The Northern Region Lord was touched by such a novel description, using the handkerchief to wipe away a tear. This was a tear of sadness. "I would like to thank you for telling me all of this. I am not in a good mood, so I won't be serving you." The Northern Region Lord ended the conversation. Chu Bai nodded. "Then, I shall take my leave. Please pick yourself up from this." The Northern Region Lord waved his hands and looked on as Chu Bai left. He stood silently by the railing. When he thought about everything that Ling Ren went through and also about this, killing intent rose up in his heart. "Father, why did you have to do that? Aren't you forcing your son to kill you?" Northern Region Lord stood with his hands behind his back and sighed. His shadow was cast on the ground. In the Bank of the Universe, Li Xiandao was looking at a third expert. A Taoist old man. His face was dried up and tired. His hair was white and he looked like someone that was on the verge of death. "How should I address you?" Li Xiandao asked. He looked at the tomb but there weren't many things written on it. There were only a few words. "Tomb of the Taoist priest. I don't remember my name anymore. I have spent my life studying Taoism. Just call me Taoist priest." The guy thought about it and said. Li Xiandao searched his memory and confirmed that there was no news of such a person. Maybe he had forgotten his own name, which was why Li Xiandao couldn't find anything. But it was okay. On the way up, Li Xiandao read Slaying the Heavens and memorized it. But he still needed to test it out to understand and digest it. "What can you teach me?" Li Xiandao asked politely. "Martial arts, the Dao, and also eternal life." He thought about it and said. Li Xiandao really wanted to diss him. "You are already dead and are just left with just a remnant soul and you want to teach me about eternal life, asterisk." The priest seemed to see through his thoughts and said, "Don't think that just because I am dead that I won't be able to teach you about eternal life. Of course not. Why would I have such a thought? I am willing to listen and learn." Li Xiandao hurriedly explained. If he angered this priest, he would have to find another person. "Do you know how long I have lived for?" the Taoist asked Li Xiandao. Li Xiandao shook his head as he didn't know. "Even I don't know how long I have lived for. The first time I opened my eyes, there were still 10 suns and 10 moons above," the Taoist recalled. Li Xiandao frowned. The time of the 10 suns and 10 moons was a time of legends. Stories that passed down from that time were treated as stories by many people. It was said that there were 10 suns in the day and 10 moons at night. There was something about the sky dog eating the moon and the barbarian race expert shooting the sun. All of those were treated as legends by people. People named that era the Legend Era. If the priest said that the first time he opened his eyes was during that era, then he must have lived for a long time. Li Xiandao believed him. Since he had lived for so long, he would have many things to teach Li Xiandao. "Priest, I just read Slaying the Heavens. Can you help me comprehend it quickly?" Li Xiandao asked. "No worries, bring it on." The priest waved his hands and asked Li Xiandao to attack. Kang! Li Xiandao didn't hesitate. He pulled out his sword and slashed towards the sky. Slaying the heavens exploded. An eye-catching sword energy covered the sun in the sky. It was a dozen meters long and slashed down viciously. The priest saw his moves and said, "I will suppress my cultivation to your level to fight you." Pang! Li Xiandao saw his body swell up, his dry body filling up, and his hair turning black. He instantly turned into a muscular, middle-aged man and punched right at Li Xiandao's slaying the heavens. Kaka! Li Xiandao's slaying the heavens instantly collapsed, but his expression didn't change. He slashed out a second sword, stepping out without any hesitation and moving his whole body forwards. Li Xiandao's expression was as cold as the sword energy wrapped around him. Shatter! The priest didn't use any tricks and just punched with a single fist. Kaka! Slaying the heavens' second sword was shattered too. Li Xiandao and the priest's expressions both didn't change. Li Xiandao continued to attack and the priest continued to defend. Both of them fought without stopping at all. The priest would shatter each sword from Li Xiandao until Li Xiandao used all 9 moves. The 9 swords were all shattered and Li Xiandao just stood there without attacking anymore. The priest looked at Li Xiandao calmly. Li Xiandao closed his eyes. In his mind was the Dao from when the priest punched, those strong laws. Li Xiandao lacked those things, and that was the reason why his slaying the heavens was not strong. The all-knowing talent continued to comprehend and slowly absorb the priest's Dao. He was like a person eating a bowl of noodles, absorbing it as he ate. Li Xiandao comprehended it all so quickly. Then, he opened his eyes and slashed without saying anything. The priest waved his fists to shatter Li Xiandao's slaying the heavens. No matter how much strength Li Xiandao added or how Li Xiandao controlled the area around, all of it was shattered. Kaka! After the 9th sword was shattered, Li Xiandao stopped. He closed his eyes once more and slowly comprehended. The second variation of slaying the heavens was double the strength of the first version. But the priest's Dao was still extremely thick and strong. Li Xiandao comprehended a bit of it, so he changed to something else. The Dao was just too vast and complex. Chapter 170, How can there be someone who is crown prince for 9,000 years? On the Legacy Hall mountain peak, the battle between Li Xiandao and the priest continued. The priest's Dao was just too deep, such that Li Xiandao was still unable to fully understand him even when he tried for so long. He definitely believed that the priest came from the legend era, unlike war god Zhaowuji and sword god whom he understood and saw through right away. Li Xiandao was able to use the full strength of slaying the heavens in just one strike. There was less of the theatrics and more practicality. The 9 swords all stabbed toward one area, and even if one's defense was strong, one would still be unable to block 9 swords. But even if Li Xiandao comprehended the technique to such an extent, he still wasn't the match of the priest. Li Xiandao's slaying the heavens could be used in an instant, but it was shattered by the priest at the same time. After the burly priest shattered the sword that Li Xiandao had cultivated, he dispersed all his strength and turned back into that thin old man. The Dao from that fist is enough for you to comprehend for 3 days. Your talent is just too terrifying. You only need 3 days to comprehend something I took 300 years to comprehend. Go back and rest and come back next time. The priest waved his hand and chased Li Xiandao away. Li Xiandao was a little reluctant. Their battle was like a whale swimming in the ocean. He was unrestrained and had nothing to worry about. He was able to absorb everything that he wanted. Li Xiandao didn't want to stop. If he was able to absorb for a full 10 days and nights, Li Xiandao dared to ensure that there would be little to no one in eternal land that could defeat him. Unlike now, when he was stuck at a single point, which made him feel really uncomfortable. Exhaustion appeared on the priest's face. Since he was just a remnant piece of a soul, Li Xiandao could only leave. Goodbye, priest. Li Xiandao retreated slowly. The priest looked on as Li Xiandao left. After ensuring that Li Xiandao was gone, he heaved a sigh of relief. Overpowered, overpowered. The priest cursed. It took me 300 years to comprehend that part of the Dao, and he did it in 30 minutes. Are the heavens even fair? The priest was really jealous. If he didn't stop just now, then Li Xiandao could really continue to absorb all his knowledge. He would be able to suck him dry. That was just too terrifying. Hades, this world belongs to the youth. As for us, we should just lay quietly in our graves. The priest sighed and just stumbled back into his tomb. Li Xiandao walked out of the legacy hall and back into his room. True qi swelled in his body like he was about to break through. But Li Xiandao suppressed it and didn't let himself break through. I am still accumulating. Now isn't the time to break through. Li Xiandao muttered. When one breaks through, one had to do so all at once. Breaking through bit by bit was like squeezing toothpaste, and Li Xiandao really didn't like that. Thus, he suppressed that feeling. 7. Li Xiandao shouted. He didn't see her around, so he missed her. Li Xiandao was extremely happy when he kissed her on the forehead, but he was also afraid that she would be unhappy. Luckily, she didn't. The only thing was that she became cold and stopped caring about him. Li Xiandao could only head out helplessly when he didn't get a reply to search for 7. 7 lived in another corner of the peak. It was a small grass patch where there was a single flower. It was just sprouting. Li Xiandao walked over and saw that 7 was watering it. He asked, "What flower is this?" "Dog's tail grass," 7 said calmly. Li Xiandao didn't mind her cold expression and smiled. "Why is there only one such flower?" 7 looked at Li Xiandao and said helplessly, "When the Bank of the Universe was sealed, my garden was sealed too. All the things that I planted were all gone." Li Xiandao was stunned. He said, "Then, let me help you redeem them." 7 shook her head and said, "It is extremely expensive. Out of the flowers that I planted, even the weakest one can draw numerous experts from the 9 skies to fight for them. You are temporarily unable to redeem it." Li Xiandao didn't think that way and asked, "What is the price? Tell me about it." "God Spirit Meridian, 300 of them." 7 said helplessly. "Let's just shelve it. Even if we had 300 God Spirit Meridians, we would need to redeem the other mountains." 7 explained. She didn't want Li Xiandao to work hard towards this matter. The garden wasn't as important as the other mountains. Legacy Hall didn't say anything and just changed the topic. "Since we unsealed the Legacy Hall, then do we have 100 more watches?" 7 nodded. "You want to cast them out?" "Right, we also need new guests and new gains to strengthen the Bank of the Universe." Li Xiandao nodded his head. Li Xiandao trusted 7 and she was entrusted with managing all the watches. Apart from maintaining the big picture, 7 was in charge of everything else. 7 was the helper that Li Xiandao couldn't allow to have leave his side. "Okay, I shall do that right away." 7 nodded. "Then, you continue to tidy your garden. I shall go cultivate." Li Xiandao turned around and left. 7 continued to stare at the garden. The huge garden was so empty, so she would just plant some normal flowers. Li Xiandao saw how she was staring at it after he turned a corner. He had an idea and maybe he could give her a surprise. But he had to plan for this matter. Along with the Bank of the Universe casting out 100 watches, a huge storm was rising in Eternal Land. God Capital. This was the capital of the Feather Transformation God Dynasty. It was huge and spanned 2 rivers, raising tens of millions of people. God Capital was huge, but it wasn't easy to live here. Many civilians entered and left God Capital. Their lives were extremely busy, and only then were they able to barely survive. Within the God Capital, there was an unimaginable number of aristocratic families. One God Capital, 100,000 families. Someone said that there were a total of 100,000 families here. 100,000 of them would add up to a few million people. The biggest was the royal family. The Feather Transformation God Dynasty royal family were the ones in full control of God Capital. The current emperor was called Emperor Tiankai. Since he took to the throne, he worked hard and had many successes. After 10,000 years he managed the Feather Transformation God Dynasty really well and all its people were able to have decent lives. This was a huge contribution. But someone was unhappy. In the Crown Prince's manor, an invisible seal spread about which no one could see. "This is insane. I really want to carry my sword to charge into the palace and ask that old man whether or not he wants me to die like this." The young man in a robe hollered in rage. "How many crown princes will there be in 9,000 years? I am already the 4th one. The first one died from old age, the second was chased out, and the third gave up and decided to become a lord. Am I going to be the same?" The crown prince carried his sword and paced back and forth in a rage. Chapter 171, New Guest. The crown prince was both shocked and afraid. He had been the prince for 20 years and had been managing all the official government matters. Emperor Tiankai stood high above and it seemed like he wasn't doing much, but a single sneeze from him was much more powerful than anything this crown prince tried to do. From one crown prince down to him, he felt like he was finally going to gain a chance. But reality gave him a merciless slap. Emperor Tiankai was planning on giving up the throne when he was 15,000 years old. Damn! When the crown prince heard this news, he was stunned. He didn't want to go anywhere else and just went home to vent his anger. Emperor Tiankai was just over 10,000 years old, so there were still 5,000 more years. He didn't want to live anymore. The crown prince pulled out his sword and randomly slashed the air to vent his anger. Rage had consumed him and all of his rationality. There were a dozen of his firm supporters in the room who placed all their eggs in his basket. If the crown prince lost, then they would all have lost. This was why they were equally anxious. Crown prince, we mustn't rush things now. An old man said. I am not rushing things, do I look like someone who is anxious? The crown prince raised his sword and said viciously. I just want to slash that old thing. The crown prince gritted his teeth. You must calm down, otherwise, you will ruin the plan. The old man raised his voice. The crown prince sighed and stopped behaving like a madman. Crown prince, we aren't sure whether or not that thing is real. Even if it is, what else can we do other than accept it? The old man persuaded. The crown prince lowered his voice, I am not willing to. If it is real, then we will have to wait 5,000 more years. I doubt it. To be a crown prince for 5,000 more years would be a historic feat. The old man shook his head and said. Sir, do you have something to teach me? The crown prince said anxiously. Bear with it. You can only bear with it. With the current strength you have, you can't compete against His Majesty. If you make him angry, he might decide to change the crown prince. The old man said. Am I not bearing with it enough? The crown prince pointed at himself and said. Crown prince, kill those people you captured a while back. Don't leave them alive. They are just problems for us now. The old man said solemnly. The other people said unhappily, all the people the crown prince captured offended him, so what is wrong with locking them up? The crown prince frowned as he looked at the old man. How many of them offended the crown prince and how many of them were dragged down because you all tried to suck up to the crown prince? All of you should know really clearly. Crown prince, since you already did it, then don't keep them alive. They will be a problem sooner or later. The old man said solemnly. The crown prince nodded and said, since that is the case, then we should kill them all. A warrior stood up and cupped his fist, kill them all. The crown prince didn't care much. Of course, kill them all. Some of the people inside are real enemies. The crown prince wanted to torture them, the warrior said solemnly. Kill them all, especially the person who gave me a green hat, kill him first. I don't want to see him. The crown prince pointed in rage. Yes, your highness. The warrior cupped his fist and walked out. I am impressed that your highness is so decisive. The old man who made the suggestion said respectfully. Sir, your praise is unwarranted. The crown prince laughed out loud in delight. His only problem was these few people, if he killed them all, then there wouldn't be any problems left. Unless he chose to give up his spot, Emperor Tiankai wouldn't do anything to him. After all, the past few princes chose to give up by themselves and weren't forced to do so by the emperor. God Capital, Jail. This was a small space that was opened up at the depths of the God Capital. It expanded regularly and all kinds of prisoners were housed inside. The crown prince sent the most people in and many were innocent. Each time someone opened the gates to the jail, one would hear many tragic cries. The crown prince dealt with all those who had grievances with him. He didn't fight them head on, but he remembered their wrongdoings. When he went home he would send someone to capture them and then punish them. People without power wouldn't be able to do anything to the crown prince. This was why over the years, more than 10,000 people were here because of the crown prince. This matter wasn't a problem yet, but the old man who had foresight saw the risk. So, he begged the crown prince to deal with this problem. In the depths, there was a special man that was being locked up. Each day he would be hung up and beaten. Once the guards had fun with him, they would then place him down. He had been locked up for over a year and he had long been beaten beyond recognition. After a while, the guards didn't even want to beat him anymore. It wasn't that they couldn't bear to, but because they genuinely found it disgusting. This guy barely escaped death, hiding in the corner and recovering his stamina. How is my father and wife? The guy was curled up and he asked as he thought about them. My child was born close to 10 years ago, but I don't know whether it's a boy or girl. The man thought about them. His name was Tianheng. He fought for 10 years and hadn't been killed. Instead, he had been captured by the crown prince and locked in this ice-cold prison, only to be beaten up every day. Unfortunately, I am not far away from comprehending the Dao heart and breaking through to human celestial realm. Unlike now when my cultivation is sealed and I am getting beaten up and waiting for death. Tianheng felt huge regret. He had fought for 10 years and his cultivation had improved higher. If the feather transformation god dynasty didn't interfere, he would have become a human celestial. Unfortunately, it was all for nothing. Hualala! Many soldiers charged in and they dragged away all the people that the crown prince had held captive. Those who offended the crown prince will be killed. There is a piece of trash there. Drag him out and kill him. A soldier hollered. Tianheng was shocked. He was about to die. The crown prince wanted to kill him. He wanted to resist but there was nothing he could do. Ding! Just at that moment, a red watch appeared in the jail. It appeared in front of him. For some reason, he saw many phenomenons. There was a giant palace and in front of it was one man and one woman. The man was mysterious and the woman was really beautiful. Where is this place? Tianheng was shocked. He had never seen such a magical thing. Smash the watch and enter the bank of the universe. You will be able to exchange for anything you want. A thought flashed in his mind. He heard the nearby footsteps getting closer and closer. He didn't have any time to think and just shattered the watch. Kaka! No matter whether you are a god or a demon, please save me once. Tianheng prayed. Hong! His body disappeared. When the soldier walked over and saw the empty room, he was shocked. Where is he? What is going on? What should we do? Act like we didn't see anything and that he has been killed. The few soldiers looked at one another and agreed in unison. Chapter 172, 10,000 Years of Life Epson. Within the Bank of the Universe, this was the second time that Li Xiandao had gone to find the priest. Another 30 minutes of sparring and Li Xiandao was still unable to win him. Li Xiandao was no match for slaying the heavens at all but the battle really satisfied him. He had seen through the priest once more. The priest sighed helplessly when he looked at Li Xiandao leave. Based on Li Xiandao's current rate of learning, who knew how many more times he could beat him? There is a guest. Seven's voice rang out in Li Xiandao's ear. Li Xiandao nodded. I will change and welcome the guest. Strictly speaking, this was his first guest since entering Eternal Land and Li Xiandao hoped that it would be a great start. He decided to be a cunning merchant. He would extort many things to make himself rich. Only then could he surprise Seven. Within the Bank of the Universe's trading hall, Li Xiandao wore a white robe and a gold mask. He seemed cold and mysterious. To welcome the first guest in Eternal Land, Seven also went to dress up. She was so beautiful that it even stunned Li Xiandao who was already used to looking at her. When Tianheng entered the Bank of the Universe and saw Seven, he too was in awe. But he quickly lowered his head and looked at Li Xiandao instead of Seven. What is this place? Tianheng asked curiously. The Bank of the Universe. Li Xiandao said calmly. What kind of faction is the Bank of the Universe? I was just in God Capital's jail and now I am here. It is just so mysterious. Tianheng said in shock. Li Xiandao said calmly, this is Bank of the Universe's skill. You seem heavily injured as you are covered in wounds. What do you want to trade? Can I trade anything? Tianheng asked. Li Xiandao nodded. Of course, but you must be able to pay the price. Tianheng looked at himself and was confused. I don't have anything on me. You still have yourself, your soul, your cultivation, your life, all your treasures, etc. All of them can be used to trade. Li Xiandao explained. Let me take a look. You have 18,000 years of lifespan to trade. Li Xiandao added. You also want lifespan. Tianheng was shocked. In truth, as long as it is valuable, we want it. For example, God Spirit Meridian, treasure, celestial artifacts, techniques, etc. Li Xiandao added. Tianheng looked at himself closely and said, I want to exchange for thick spiritual energy and also a chance of comprehension. Li Xiandao looked at him with a weird expression and didn't expect that he would trade for such things. He wanted spiritual energy and a chance to comprehend the Dao. Was he preparing to use his own strength to break through and then solve his current situation? Li Xiandao asked, what is your name? Tianheng. Tianheng stood up with all his strength, but his voice was really weak. Li Xiandao lifted his head and stared at Tianheng. In his heart, he was thinking about how much of a coincidence it was. Tianheng, Tian Yun's son, Tian Ye's father. To save his wife and kid, he used his own strength to delay the Wen family main force for 10 years. He fought many and disappeared in the end. Who knew that he would end up appearing here? What is it? Tianheng saw Li Xiandao's expression and didn't know what was wrong. Nothing. Before we trade, let me tell you something. I will charge you for it, so do you want to hear it? Li Xiandao grinned. Tianheng was stunned. What news? What is the price? It's about your child. I shall charge 10 years of your lifespan. Li Xiandao thought about it and said. Okay, I shall listen. Tianheng agreed without hesitation after learning that it was regarding his child. Li Xiandao nodded. You have a daughter who is really beautiful and cute. She is also really strong. Tianheng was delighted. His dry hands trembled and he asked emotionally, I have a daughter. Yes, a little fairy. Li Xiandao praised. He had a good impression of Tianyi. How do you know that? Tianheng was still a little suspicious. Before you came, the Bank of the Universe's last guest was your daughter. Li Xiandao said. Tianheng's expression changed and he said anxiously, my daughter came. She is only 10, so why did she come here? What did she exchange? What is her situation now? Li Xiandao saw how emotional he was and said, sit down and we shall talk. Overcome with emotion, Tianheng sat down right in front of Li Xiandao. I know about all of that. If you want to know, then give me 100 years of lifespan. Li Xiandao raised a finger and his cunning merchant personality was activated. Tianheng didn't hesitate, I agree. Li Xiandao smiled and started to tell Tianheng about Tianyi, Tianyun, and his wife's poison incident. After Tianheng heard it, he said in rage, Wen family, that damn Wen family. Li Xiandao saw Tianheng and said, do you still want to trade for what you mentioned? If I want them, what do I need to pay? Tianheng asked. Li Xiandao raised one finger and said, 1,000 years of lifespan. Tianheng frowned and thought about it. Let me add 3,890 years of lifespan, a total of 5,000 years along with what I said before and for you to help me wipe out the Wen family. The problems he asked were 110 years, along with 1,000 years, and now these 3,890, added up to 5,000. Why don't you do it yourself? Li Xiandao asked curiously. If he gave Tianheng those two things, he would be able to enter the human celestial realm. When that happened, it would be really easy for him to deal with the Wen family. Tianheng shook his head, my body is too weak, and even if I break through to human celestial realm I need to heal up. The Wen family is so far away but I am trapped here. I can't reach them. Li Xiandao nodded and continued to listen. If I am willing to wait, I can wait for a year and a half to destroy the Wen family but I can't afford to wait. The Wen family must be mad since Wen Ming is dead. My daughter is weak and my father is injured. My wife is also poisoned, so they can't defend themselves. I have to destroy the Wen family. Tianheng gritted his teeth. Li Xiandao thought about it and said, I can do it, but the lifespan you must pay will double to 10,000. Tianheng's pupils constricted. He looked at Li Xiandao's ice-cold mask and nodded, if I give you 10,000, then in addition to wiping out the Wen family, you must protect my wife, daughter, and father. Li Xiandao nodded. 7. Prepare a contract. 7 took out a contract and passed it to Li Xiandao. Li Xiandao pushed it forwards to Tianheng. Sign it. Li Xiandao placed a pen in front of Tianheng and said. Tianheng didn't hesitate and signed his name. Li Xiandao stood up and walked behind Tianheng. Relax, it is just 10,000 years, you still have 8,000. Once you break through to human celestial, your lifespan will be extended. Li Xiandao said slowly and started to absorb Tianheng's lifespan. Chapter 173, Find you in the morning, find him in the afternoon. Li Xiandao slowly sucked out Tianheng's lifespan. He couldn't do it too quickly. Tianheng was badly injured and his cultivation had been sealed. If Li Xiandao did it too fast, Tianheng could die on the spot. Li Xiandao would become a killer and he would be going against the Bank of the Universe's rules and would be punished for it. Li Xiandao was really careful as he sucked out the lifespan bit by bit. He did it really slowly, fully focused. Tianheng's change was visible. His hair was now a mix of black and white. His features went from young and handsome to slightly older. Tianheng met the Wen family little miss when he was 17. They fell in love and were exposed when they were 20. At that point, his cultivation was at Countless Sands stage 18. Even in Eternal Land, to reach such a cultivation at 20 meant that he was a genius. The key was that Tianheng didn't have any resources and relied solely on himself. In the next 10 years, Tianheng fought valiantly, breaking through from Countless Sands realm to Transcendent realm. He went from stage 1 to 10. He was just one step away from human celestial realm. But this step was interrupted by the Feather Transformation God Dynasty's crown prince. He was captured and locked up, whipped daily, and tortured. If he dressed up, he would look youthful and handsome. But now, his hair was white and he looked like a 40-year-old man. After 10,000 years of lifespan was taken from him, his body was suffering badly. Luckily, Li Xiandao was really gentle and Tianheng wasn't too badly hurt. You are just 30 and at your peak, which is why you have 18,000 years of lifespan. Now that I have taken 10,000 years and although you look older, because of my skillfulness, your foundations haven't been hurt. Li Xiandao reached out to tell Seven to take a box to store the lifespan in. Tianheng knew that his foundations weren't hurt, otherwise, things wouldn't be so simple for him now. He was really grateful. Thank you. There's no need to thank me. You can enter the 10,000 country book depository and there are many books in there that can allow you to comprehend the Dao. The Bank of the Universe has thick spiritual energy for you to break through. Once you do, you can leave the Bank of the Universe. Li Xiandao wiped his hands with a jade silk handkerchief as he looked at the weak Tianheng. Okay. That was the only thing that Tianheng said. 7. Bring him to the 10,000 country book depository. There is something I have to deal with. Li Xiandao ordered. 7 nodded and brought Tianheng away. Li Xiandao took the jade box after 7 left. He looked at the lifespan within and his eyes lit up. Watch, find someone who has large amounts of God Spirit Meridian and wants lifespan. Li Xiandao went behind 7 to order a watch. The demands were really high and it wasn't easy to find such a customer. Li Xiandao wasn't in a rush and knew that he would definitely be able to find it. God Spirit Meridians were expensive in Dali Land and Ancient Desolate Land, but it was different in Eternal Land. Moreover, Eternal Land was connected to the other lands and wasn't alone. It was huge and the population was high, so there were definitely people who were suitable for Li Xiandao. Li Xiandao looked at the 10,000 years of lifespan within and shook his head. It is possible to use it to cultivate, but I don't want to break through so quickly. I haven't absorbed all of the priest's Dao. Li Xiandao accepted Tianheng's mission to wipe out the Wen family. The first thing he did was sense where Tianya was. Tianya hadn't been found and was living well. Li Xiandao wasn't too worried about her. He kept it and didn't pass it to 7. He then informed the watch, inform only me and no one else when you find the guest. The watch accepted the order and followed it accordingly. Only then was Li Xiandao satisfied and he came to the legacy hall. He had just fully understood the priest and his current accumulated learnings were enough for him to break through. If he bothered now, he could reach a high realm. But Li Xiandao was not satisfied. He felt like he could aim higher. Moreover, the priest was able to use so much of the Dao in the same realm that he was. Li Xiandao felt like he hadn't reached his limit. If the priest knew what Li Xiandao was thinking, he would definitely curse him. I know so much because I accumulated it over so long. At your realm, I don't even know 1% of what you do. Unfortunately, Li Xiandao didn't consider that point. It wasn't that he couldn't think about it but that he didn't want to think about it. After arriving in Eternal Land, Li Xiandao felt like he was weak, very very weak. Especially since his cultivation wasn't at human celestial realm. One must know that human celestial wasn't the ceiling of Eternal Land. There were some old monsters that would force Li Xiandao to hide in the Bank of the Universe if he met them. Just thinking about it made Li Xiandao feel really threatened. He felt like he needed to cultivate the big river sword energy and slaying the heavens well. Then, he would just slowly accumulate. Only when he reached the limit would he try to break through. This was because Li Xiandao hadn't fought someone in the same realm as him in Eternal Land and didn't know what the strength outside was like. The only person of the same level of strength he could fight was the priest. Till now, Li Xiandao hadn't even won once. This gave Li Xiandao a feeling like he was really weak. He used big river sword energy, slaying the heavens, and numerous sword skills from the 10,000 country book depository, and he couldn't beat the priest. He wasn't even able to injure him. He was just too weak. Li Xiandao felt really anxious at how weak he was. What he didn't know was that each time Li Xiandao left, the remnant spirit of the priest would curse, "Your sword energy nearly forced me to use a portion of the Dao of a celestial. How can you be so strong at peak transcendent realm?" Just like that, Li Xiandao, who felt like he was weak, and a priest that felt like Li Xiandao was overpowered, met once more. The priest opened his own coffin and laid inside. He silently bathed in the sun and closed his eyes in exhaustion. This was his only hobby. Moreover, the sun was helpful in recovering his energy. Who knew that a black shadow would block him? The priest opened his eyes unhappily and saw Li Xiandao. He was so frightened that his body shook and he blinked his eyes. "Why are you here again?" The priest looked at Li Xiandao in despair. He had always tried to keep a calm demeanor. This despair really came from the bottom of his heart. "Once a day was good. It was enough for you and enough for me. Why did you have to come so many times a day? I will really have no more Dao to use. I didn't come here to fight with you. I know that you are a remnant soul and once a day is your limit. I am finding someone else, but I saw that you were bathing in the sun, so I came to say hi." Li Xiandao said. "Go on, there is a really strong guy ahead. He has learned a lot about the Dao, much more than me. Go on, there is no need to say hi to me." The priest nearly jumped out. Was he sick of him and wanted to find someone else? That was a good thing. If Li Xiandao wasn't in front of him, the priest would have laughed out loud. The priest was finally about to stop being used as a tool. "Good, I shall find him. I will find you in the morning and him in the afternoon." Li Xiandao nodded his head and left. The priest's face froze. Chapter 174, One with the Universe. After saying goodbye to the priest, Li Xiandao came to a lone tomb. This tomb was located on the corner of the peak and was a little sectioned off from the rest. An old tree spread out and the leaves covered the tomb from light. Cliff, lone tomb, old tree. Under the light of the setting sun, Li Xiandao came here alone. The lone tomb was surrounded by fallen leaves and it made a crunching sound as he walked toward it. "Senior, I am Junior Li Xiandao. I am here to learn," Li Xiandao said. "Why did the new owner of the Bank of the Universe come to find me?" A calm voice rang out. Li Xiandao saw a scholar appear from under the tree. He was holding a scroll and wearing a robe. His hair was tied up and he exuded a scholarly aura. "Senior, how should I address you?" Li Xiandao asked. "Zhong Beizheng, I am just a nameless scholar," Zhong Beishan said calmly as his robe fluttered in the wind. Li Xiandao tried to recall any signs of this person but he couldn't find anything. Who knew whether or not he was low profile, so the world didn't hear of him, or if he had another name. "Senior, I came here for advice," Li Xiandao said truthfully. "For advice?" Zhong Beishan frowned. "Right, I want to break through to human celestial realm." Li Xiandao nodded his head. "You can break through now." Zhong Beishan stared at Li Xiandao and said. "I want to break past human celestial realm, not break through to reach human celestial." Li Xiandao announced his ambition. Zhong Beishan was shocked. Human celestial has 10 stages and there is a huge change in each. For you to cross them all, you really have some ambition. Which is why I came to ask Senior for help. Li Xiandao said. "Okay, you attack and I will teach you some things." Zhong Beishan nodded. "I was fortunate to have the Bank of the Universe keep a fragment of my soul which prevented me from dying. You are now the owner of the bank, so naturally, I need to thank you." Zhong Beishan lifted his hand and raised his level to his peak. He suppressed his cultivation to the same as Li Xiandao's and went all out. Slaying the heavens. Li Xiandao went all out and numerous threads of sword energy appeared in the air. He stepped forwards, grabbing one of them and slashed at Zhong Beishan. This strike was the strongest strike from slaying the heavens. Clang! The numerous phenomenons in heaven and earth all belonged to that sword at that very moment. The thousands of threads of sword energies all gathered together, forming a terrifying and vicious aura. This sword contained all the moves of slaying the heavens. One sword, 9 slashes. This was what Li Xiandao had learned from the priest. It was extremely terrifying and even the priest found it a little tough to handle this. What about Zhong Beishan? Li Xiandao was really excited. When Zhong Baishan saw Li Xiandao's strike, his pupils constricted. With his realm, with his cultivation, with what he had seen, naturally he wouldn't worry about normal things. Such a strong Dao. Zhong Baishan was shocked at how strong Li Xiandao's Dao was. It was so terrifying and invincible. In the transcendent realm, Li Xiandao's Dao was invincible. Zhong Baishan knew that he couldn't restrict himself to transcendent realm as he wouldn't be able to block that strike. He breathed, and when the sword energy slashed at him, numerous world threads appeared in his eyes. Dao threads. This was not a level that the transcendent realm could touch. In truth, even human celestials couldn't reach such a realm. People who exceeded human celestial and had top talents were probably able to feel this. Zhong Baishan stepped forwards like Li Xiandao and said, "Beginning of heaven and earth, saint descends." Hong. At this moment, extremely terrifying Dao phenomenons appeared on Zhong Baishan's body. They covered Li Xiandao, and in the next second, an invincible illusion appeared. Beginning of heaven and earth, saint descends. This saint wasn't at saint realm, but it referred to one's charm and their contribution to the world. Saint realm was just one's cultivation exceeding 90% of the people. But it didn't mean that one's personality and contributions had reached such a stage. Each saint in the past all helped to discover new lands. In terms of cultivation, character, contributions, and the progress of mankind, their help wasn't something that others could compare to. This was what saints were supposed to look like. The saint descended, and just like that, Li Xiandao's slaying the heavens collapsed. He was forced back and blood surged up his throat. With much difficulty, he was only able to just suppress it. "You lost." Zhong Baishan walked to Li Xiandao and pointed with his finger. He touched Li Xiandao's heart. Pui! True Qi exploded, causing Li Xiandao's heart to explode and a giant hole to appear. Li Xiandao was stunned, and then he reached out to cover the wound. "This hurts even more than a sword stabbing through it." Li Xiandao muttered. Zhong Baishan backed off silently. Li Xiandao wiped it with his hand and the wound healed instantly. He looked towards Zhong Baishan and said firmly, "What type of Dao is that?" "One with the universe." Zhong Baishan said. Li Xiandao looked at Zhong Baishan in confusion. Humans and heaven and earth are two different entities. The world is huge and endless. As for humans, we are restricted by our imagination and thoughts. Zhong Baishan said. Li Xiandao listened quietly. Your thoughts can cross worlds, so your body can too. If your thoughts in heaven and earth are on the same frequency, then you will be connected to it, becoming one with the universe. You will then be able to control the Dao for your own use. Zhong Baishan looked at Li Xiandao and pointed out Li Xiandao's weakness. You comprehended a lot of the Dao, but most of them are scattered and there isn't one perfect Dao. You don't even have veins of Dao, so naturally, it will be tough to grasp it. Zhong Baishan said. Li Xiandao listened on and his eyes shone brightly. This was the Dao thread that Zhong Baishan used just now. To become stronger and to cross past human celestial realm, you need to comprehend one with the universe. Zhong Baishan said solemnly. When you are able to do that, then you have the right to do so. Zhong Baishan concluded. Li Xiandao asked, after I do that, I will only have the right to do so. Of course, what else do you want? Zhong Baishan nodded and guessed, you should just comprehend that. I spent 1,000 years to do so. As for you, I think you need at least 100 years. Li Xiandao's gaze became really weird. Actually, I don't need so long. What? Zhong Baishan looked at Li Xiandao with a confused expression. I said that I don't need so long. Li Xiandao's expression turned solemn. Sword energy appeared and looked exactly the same as before. In the next second, Li Xiandao reached out and grabbed the air. Dao sword. With a loud explosion, the entire Lone Mountain was included in the range of Li Xiandao's Dao sword. This sword was several times more terrifying than the last one that Li Xiandao used. Chapter 175, Tianheng breaks through. Li Xiandao's sword stunned Zhong Baishan. One with the universe. He succeeded just like that? It took him 1,000 years to learn it. How long did it take Li Xiandao? From start till now, did the two of them spend more than 10 minutes together? He comprehended it just like that? At this point, Zhong Baishan, this scholar, was very sour. It felt as if he had sucked on some lemon. Hong! In the next second, Li Xiandao's sword collapsed on its own. He was unable to sustain it for a long time and was only able to do so for a few seconds. Is this considered initial comprehension? Li Xiandao asked. Zhong Beishan opened his mouth wide and he looked at Li Xiandao like a weak student looking at a genius. A weak student needed a year to gain knowledge and digest while a genius only needed 10 days. As for Li Xiandao, he was a super genius. You comprehended it just like that? Zhong Beishan was filled with disbelief. Not yet. During the process of your attack, I recorded all the Dao that you used as they weren't covered at all. I just practiced it in my head and along with my deep accumulations, naturally, I managed to comprehend so much right away. Li Xiandao said truthfully. With the all-knowing talent, Li Xiandao's had deep accumulations in the Dao. There was also Zhong Beishan's help. If he hid some of the things from Li Xiandao wouldn't have seen everything so clearly. Zhong Beishan opened his mouth. At this point, he understood why the priest felt so helpless. This guy learned things too quickly. Did he purposely not hide things? He didn't even think about it as it had no idea that Li Xiandao would comprehend it right away. Zhong Beishan had many things he wanted to say but he only said one sentence, not bad, continue working hard. Even if he was shocked, he needed to maintain the demeanor of an expert. Privately, he wanted to hug the priest and cry together. But on the surface, he had to act like nothing had happened and show that he had seen many of such things in the past. Then, let's continue. Li Xiandao said excitedly. As expected, Zhong Beishan was skilled. In just 10 minutes, Li Xiandao comprehended one with the universe. If they continued this relationship, he would be able to swiftly break through. Li Xiandao's idea was shattered right away as Zhong Beishan said, I am tired. Today, I taught you one with the universe, so go comprehend it. You just learned it and couldn't even last for long and you want to learn something else. Li Xiandao nodded his head, you are right, I shall head back and grasp one with the universe fully before coming to find you. Li Xiandao turned around and left. He was going to spend many hours to grasp this one with the universe. Zhong Beishan looked at Li Xiandao leave and heaved a sigh. He finally left. He just came and learned my one with the universe. If this continues, won't he learn everything of mine? Now that you have learned one with the universe, if you don't take 100. Zhong Beishan thought back to how quickly Li Xiandao comprehended it and slightly changed the time. If you don't take 10 years, don't come back to find me. Zhong Beishan said. If the priest was there, he would have mocked Zhong Beishan for being so innocent and dumb. He knew nothing about Li Xiandao. Within the Bank of the Universe, Li Xiandao had just returned and was prepared to go into seclusion for a few hours. However, he saw spiritual energy gathering in the Bank of the Universe. It surged in and swept every corner, forming a whirlpool. Beneath the giant whirlpool was Tianheng. He crazily absorbed the energy to replenish himself. During this period, his dried-up body started to fill up. His injuries healed and his aura became thicker. Hong! A giant surge of energy swept his body and charged past the barrier that had been restricting him. Explosion! Now, Tianheng was fully recovered and was improving towards a higher realm. Breakthrough! Tianheng hollered in rage. With the help of the spiritual energy, his aura started to climb and he managed to break past the ancient barrier right away. Human Celestial! When Li Xiandao saw those scenes, his eyes lit up. He muttered, too weak. I can casually kill this human celestial with just one sword. Thinking about it, Tianheng had always been beaten up and thus his aura was really weak. Otherwise, this was just too weak for a human celestial, right? He was only stage 1. Li Xiandao had no idea about his own strength. Was he strong or were other people too weak? Hong! After Tianheng broke through, he flew out of the 10,000 country book depository to find Li Xiandao. He cupped his fists. Thank you, sir. I have broken into human celestial and my injuries are recovered. It is time I left. Go. I will do what I promised. Your daughter, wife, and father will all be safe. Li Xiandao said calmly. Okay, I believe you. Tianheng cupped his fists and left the Bank of the Universe. Li Xiandao looked on as he left. He returned to his own room and started to cultivate. At this moment, a few loud explosions spread from within the Bank of the Universe. Li Xiandao opened his eyes and said with satisfaction, the group of you are finally chasing up. As your master, I can't stay at that realm. Li Xiandao had many geniuses under him who were all breaking through and heading towards human celestial. Li Xiandao himself took in a deep breath and started to absorb the energy of the Dao. Shengjing. Tianheng appeared in his own jail cell. He looked around and the cell that was originally really empty had actually become really spacious. Those who offended the crown prince were all dragged away. The crown prince is so vicious. This time he will at least kill 10,000 people. Tianheng's expression was one of rage and he really wanted to snap this crown prince's head off. But Tianheng knew that he couldn't do that. In this god capital, human celestials weren't even strong. In the huge god capital, one could only be considered having stepped into this circle by being at stage 1. If one behaved too arrogantly, one wouldn't even know how one died. There were several human celestials at the crown prince's residence, so Tianheng couldn't be rash. Suddenly, he heard bailiffs in the jail talking. I have to leave this place first. Tianheng directly killed 2 of them when they passed, destroying their corpses. He then changed into their clothing and headed out. This was the jail, God Capital's jail, and there were also human celestials here. Although they rarely showed themselves, if Tianheng made too much of a commotion, it would alert them. He left the jail carefully, using his strength to hypnotize many of the soldiers who saw him so that they would forget him. Just like that, Tianheng left the place and disappeared into God Capital. The crown prince thought that he was dead and stopped caring about him. The current crown prince was meeting members of the Wen family old master Wen Yunmei and also the young master Wen Ling. Didn't I say that our marriage agreement is over and that the Wen family has nothing to do with me? Why are you here? The crown prince was really cold and he said unhappily. Crown prince, we have found a gem, my granddaughter. Wen Yunmei reported respectfully. The crown prince's eyes lit up. Father-in-law, what did you say?